Happy Halloween, everybody. Welcome to Fresh Out, the podcast. I am the board game guru and game master extraordinaire, Johananon.
And I'm the devil himself!
Yeah.
Well, and I'm the professional media and movie mastermind, the Funhouse, Drew Munhausen, and this is our special Halloween weekend episode. Actually, literally right before we started recording, Jahan said, I think I'm going to howl at the beginning. It didn't give me or Gary a chance to even interject or say anything, and so
I
it was
gave
just
you
like,
guys so much time.
This is just going to happen.
Don't let them lie.
Let it happen.
I discussed format heavily before these things. The former detective Gary Abinger will not be joining us as he is possessed by the devil.
Is right! Instead, tonight you'll have to deal with the devil. For the next hour and a half, you will deal with Jahan, Drew, and the devil!
Oh boy. Do y'all usually do Halloween costumes? Like, is that customary for you as an adult, or are you done with them?
I'm not opposed to it. It is fun. Halloween is one of Jenny's favorite holidays. I do like it. It's just, I haven't been much in the spirit this year. I've been watching some spooky stuff, but that's about it. I'm Popeye right now, though.
Oh no.
I like that.
What an impression.
So, I would wear, a costume if I was going to, Renfest, right? But I live in the middle of bumfucking nowhere, and I'm not just gonna put on a costume on Halloween night for no reason. Maybe if I was handing out candy or was in a neighborhood or something that was more populated, I would. But no, I'm not just gonna put on a costume for no reason. I'll put on a costume for any reason, though. Just to be clear.
Yeah, my neighborhood is growing and growing each year, so it's just because it's new, and so they keep adding, new houses and new families are moving in, so it's like we get a few more kids each year for Halloween. I'm not one to necessarily dress up on Halloween, but I do, my wife and I will usually set out a table outside with our bucket of candy and, have our lawn chairs out there and just sit and watch the kids in costumes and hand out candy and just enjoy sitting outside if the weather's nice. But I don't usually dress up for that. I think it's part of my as the media and movie mastermind. I have an obsession where if I were to dress up as a movie character or a superhero or something, I would want the costume to be as authentic or real looking as possible. I wouldn't want to just go get a cheap costume.
So I decided that I want to dress as the Grinch for one Halloween and carry around a giant candy cane and with different pails along the back of the candy cane to make it look like I was stealing children's candy. And then go and pick on children who are with their parents, but not in a horribly mean way, just in a shitty Grinch way to get them excited for the Christmas season. And then I had a whole idea for the Grinch Steals Halloween, a Nightmare Before Christmas knockoff with the Grinch.
It's not bad.
See, I just talk myself out of it because I don't want my costume to look less than stellar, and I'm not a cosplayer, so I don't put in the time to making a costume or making it look real. So I'm just I'm good. I'll just be me.
I'm worried. I'm more worried about playing the bit. If I had a Batman costume, I would want to be on a roof. I don't want to just be walking around like Batman.
Right. If you're not just going to dress in the costume, you're going to play the character.
Correct.
I respect that.
I'll do either. I don't know. I kind of want to. I think the last thing I was the most recent thing I can remember was Wolverine. I had a similar costume T-shirt, but I did like the hair and I had the cigar, that kind of stuff.
I thought about just being Naked Man tonight on the podcast.
Nice.
It's one of the few places where it's appropriate to show up as Naked Man, because you can't do that at work, and you definitely can't do it around the neighborhood. But you can go as Naked Man on a podcast.
Here, I'll help you. This is radio. It's okay. Wow, Gary, way to be naked. It's crazy.
Whoa, everyone, watch out! I'm Naked Man today. I'm butt naked in here.
I'm wearing a $3,000 Iron Man costume.
Oh, wow, look at your Iron Man costume. You look exactly like the Tony Starks.
Well, speaking of these wonderful, wonderful costumes, part of the discussion I wanted to have today is this actually kind of flows all together from Halloween costumes to Halloween icons or horror movie villains and things, which, in recent weeks, we've had episodes of the podcast about where we talked about, the new Halloween movie, or we've talked about, a Jason Voorhees movie or something of the sort. So we've kind of talked about some of these characters in passing, but I guess this is the real chance to, throw all your eggs in the basket, as they say, for one of these guys. Like, are you a Chucky guy, or are you a Freddy Krueger guy, or do you like Pennywise? Like, who are you backing in a Super Smash Brothers esque game where it's all the horror movie characters? I guess, who's your character? Who are you selecting?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm honestly torn. I love Freddy versus Jason. It came out like right when I was in junior high, I guess, like maybe when I was in like 6th or 7th grade. So the timing was perfect for me in my years to watch horror trash movies. I think that you need both Freddy and Jason. I don't think that they're gonna die anytime soon. I think they're iconic characters, and I think they'll both always be around. I love them both. They're two opposite ends of the horror spectrum, right? One's going to come beat the shit out of you, and one's going to murder you in your dreams in some spooky, strange, kooky, crazy way. I think they're both a lot of fun.
Interesting.
Looking at a list, actually, this is from Collider, of the top 50, I guess, most iconic horror villains, and I'm just kind of scrolling through just to see if there's any that we,
Hellraiser's cool, but I'm not like a huge fan of the Hellraiser movies. I guess
Pinhead, I think is his name. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's Candyman, Hannibal Lecter, Leatherface is a big one.
Leatherface is a homegrown classic.
Leatherface to me is a Jason knockoff, even though it is based on true events.
Based on a true event, yeah.
He's exactly like Jason, and he came after Jason.
No, I think Leatherface came first. When was the original?
Chainsaw.
When was the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
That's a good question.
That's a good question.
Today we're going to learn something, aren't we?
Yeah, I'm looking this up because 1974. I feel like Friday the 13th was after that.
1980.
Yeah. So Leatherface came first, but I think Leatherface has had more iterations. I feel like they've done more reboots or things of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. A lot of well, maybe that's not fair to say. There's a lot of Friday the 13th weird Jason Voorhees movies, not necessarily reboots, but that series just kind of goes off the rails.
You talking about Jason X right now?
Yeah, there's the one Jason Goes to Manhattan or whatever it's called. Oh, there's some weird ones.
I don't know, man. I've always been a big fan of Jason. Maybe it's just the hockey mask.
Collider has Michael Myers as number 1 from Halloween, which I'm a big Halloween movie fan, but Michael Myers, I mean, he's just pure evil. He doesn't talk. He just murders people. There's not really much to the character. I mean,
reason
maybe if you
don't
go
like
into all the
him,
sequels and
I don't like him because he's just a guy, and all the rest of them are monsters.
Which one?
Or Michael Myers.
I mean, Jason starts off as normal.
Well, he starts off as an undead drowned kid, doesn't he?
No.
In his second time he shows up, he's
the original Friday the 13th.
He's not.
Spoiler
he's barely
alert. It is his mother.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then in the second one, he's come back to get revenge, right?
Yeah, I think from that point on, he's
undead.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like I said, they all have some kind of supernatural thing to them, and Michael Myers supposedly doesn't. He's just evil. But he's been shot and killed and outrun and outmaneuvered a million times, and has a supernatural ability still to keep coming and always be one step behind. But they are adamant that he does not, that he is just a regular guy who is evil. And that I think is obviously not true about the character. And it cheapens the character to not give him an ability like everybody else has. Everybody else is supernatural, and he no get to be number one on my list.
I like that he's normie. I think he's out of these characters, out of like the base, the horror icons. I feel like Michael Myers is probably my favorite. Jason Voorhees is probably the most iconic. I also love Ghostface Killer. Scream. I like a lot of the movies that are self-aware, that they talk about the horror genre, and that's like Scream's whole thing. It's the killer does trivia about horror movies. Are you Wu-tanging because I said Ghostface Killer
later too? I've got some Scream comments later.
Yeah, Scream's great. And then
also some of the more recent ones that have emerged. I mean, there's Jigsaw from Saw, which when I think of Jigsaw, like when you think of the imagery, I think you think of the puppet, even though Jigsaw.
That's what I got on screen right
now. Puppet,
yeah.
It's just like his, it's like his mascot, even though it's not him. He does speak through the puppet, I suppose.
The first few Saw movies are really good. They get really dumb. But then I think
you lie. You sit on a throne of lies. The first few aren't good. The first one is good, and then the second one is bad, and then the third one somehow is good again. But the second one is bad.
Honestly,
that's the one when they're in like the house in the second one.
I remember that,
and it's like almost like a real world road rules torture house where they're just walking from room to room torturing themselves. Like the first one makes sense. You're in a trap, and then in the third ones and fourth ones you're in traps. In the second one, it's like we're just gonna walk around this house and die like one at a time to these traps. It's an awful formula.
Well,
have you seen the new one with Chris Rock?
Yeah, that one's called something else, right?
It's called Spiral from the Book of Saw.
No, I have not. I was a really big Saw fan. I think I saw them all in theaters up until Saw 5. I was a really big Saw fan at one point in my life. And I always thought it was funny that they used the puppet and then also like the pig masks. Mm-hmm. So there's like two iconic horror villains in one sort of. They kind of get a 2 for 1 bang there.
Yeah.
And yeah, there is something kind of cool about the doll. When you see the doll, you know what it's from.
Mm-hmm.
The doll's iconic. Definitely.
One of the villains I find to be, okay, like if I'm going through a haunted house or something, right? Like it's pretty common these days. I think I haven't been through a haunted house in a while, but it's pretty common where you'll see a big guy with a, hockey mask on, like Jason Voorhees, or you'll see people dressed up as some of these, and usually that's fine. I don't find it to be that unsettling unless it's Pennywise. For Pennywise, I find to be truly unsettling, especially the newer version, the version from the newer movies, not the old
Skarsgård,
Tim Curry version as much. But I find it like if I were to go in a haunted house and somebody's dressed in full makeup as Pennywise character, like I'm not going near him.
So
I'm good.
I've actually only been scared once I've done a handful of the haunted houses you walk through, right, as an adult. And I kid you not, I was terrified in one by a little person because I thought he was a prop and he was dressed like a devil and he didn't move at all. He just stayed still. And as soon as you got close to him, he jumped out and came at you. And he scared the ever-living shit out of me. Other than that, I could deal with big guys jumping out with chainsaws and stuff. I'm used to it and I'm expecting it. But the element of surprise absolutely blew me on my fucking ass.
I haven't been in a lot of haunted houses, but I did. I worked one. I did one of the Vaughn family haunted houses once. That was a lot of fun. I hid behind a wall and waited for people, and I popped out. It's good stuff. But yeah, as far as the icons go, I think I'm going to have to go Michael Myers, I think, is what I think of when I think slasher, that kind of thing. But as far as horror goes, though, I kind of like the funnier ones. Like I like Cabin in the Woods is really good. Have you ever seen Tucker and Dale versus Evil?
Did you see that right now?
Great.
One of the Xbox perks is Cabin in the Woods rental for free.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Go check it out if you haven't seen it. It's a good movie. They talk about the tropes.
Unfortunately, I don't think by the time this comes out, it will be the last day the rental is free. I think it goes up on Halloween is the last day. So if you hear this by Halloween, you can watch Cabin in the Woods for free if you have an Xbox account. If not, you should have been done having your Xbox account. We told you, Game Pass, baby.
Game Pass.
When the question is ultimately asked, though, the ones that come to mind are the super iconic ones, like y'all are saying, Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger, Chucky. But just scrolling through some of these, there's a bunch I forget, like the girl from The Ring, which I'm sure people that love that movie know what her actual name is or what she's referred to. But then there's other ones you just don't think of, like the xenomorph from Aliens, or the shark from Jaws, or the creatures from The Thing, or The Blob. Animals from other horror movies like Cujo.
I would say that Chucky for sure is, and I don't care about Chucky. I have no love in my heart and no soft spot for the Child's Play series. And
First one's really good.
And the thing that I think is really intriguing about Freddy Krueger is that he's in the brain, right? He's in the mind, and so you never know how he's going to appear, what he's going to do, or what his rules are. Where everyone else exists in this mortal realm, and they're just going to come over there and stab you or shoot you or whatever. Freddy Krueger is only going to get you in your dreams. All you have to do is stay awake. And so he's an interesting, different type of horror villain.
Then there's the Conjuring series is kind of one of the modern ones that's putting other imagery out there, because like now you have Annabelle the doll that's creepy looking, and you have the Nun standalone movie, which she was just one of the freakier parts from The Conjuring 2, and then they gave that its own movie, so they're trying to get some more imagery out there, but nothing I think is ever going to dethrone some of those whether or not they're your favorites or not. I mean, because I'm kind of leaning towards Michael Myers myself too, but it's probably just because I'm biased towards liking those movies. But
Yeah.
Jason Voorhees is a good one. Did y'all ever play the Friday the 13th game?
Yes.
Where everybody plays as
Oh,
campers?
you're talking about
One
the video
person's-
game.
Yeah, but one person plays as Jason, and you're trying to hunt down the campers. It's actually pretty fun.
It's supposed to be good. Yeah. No, we played the board game, which is similar, and it's a lot of fun. But yeah, so the things that freak me out the most, the movies that have fucked with me the most, have probably been like The Grudge. Believe it or not, when it first came out, Paranormal Activity got me pretty good. First and second one bothered
There's
me.
actually a new one that just came out this weekend, but I have yet to watch it. It's exclusively on Paramount Plus.
Interesting. Maybe I'll watch it. But yeah, no, man, because like I had like similar memories. Because in the second one, when she's describing when she was a kid seeing like the thing, like she was describing my sleep paralysis demon. I was like, I didn't know that was a thing, but apparently that's just something that happens. I actually had sleep paralysis the other day for the first time in a while, and that was
Yes. Congratulations. I've heard that that's quite a fun time.
yeah, there was something watching me. The whole bang. It was great.
All of the documentaries I've watched about sleep paralysis make me just sober jealous of that. That seems
That's
like a
it's not
blast.
cool. It doesn't happen. It hardly ever happens to me, but it happened the other day.
So
And that
the
was exciting.
only thing that I remembered like terrifying me in recent history, and even then we're like back to high school, was Signs. Signs scared the
Surprisingly, yeah.
shit out of me. And I don't know why. It was just it's not necessarily a terrifying movie. I
It's
guess
really
just
not.
the unsettlingness of it really got to me.
I don't.
Um,
I wouldn't say it's scary, but when you see the alien walk across that camera in that thing, my blood went ice cold, and I don't know why. I don't understand. It wasn't really that scary, like objectively, but
And
even if I
then-
watch it again, it gives me chills, and it's like I don't know.
Parts of it visually, like maybe it's the effects from back then, haven't aged the best. But I'm with you. When I saw that in theaters, that moment was so intense, and the suspense leading up to it and everything. And one of the movie websites, I think it might have been Slash Film, just recently did a list of the top scariest movies and their scariest moments in movies ever, period of all time. And that moment I remember because I made a mental note, but that moment was in their list, and I was like, hey, you know what? I can't argue that, because even if it maybe hasn't aged the best now, when I saw that in theaters, that got me for sure.
Ice cold, man. Yeah. The one that gave me the most trouble sleeping was probably The Grudge. Because like that thing comes out from inside your safe haven of blankets. Like that's fucked up. They took away my safe place, man. You know, because when I was little, I was terrified of vampires, so I would always like bundle up so they couldn't bite my neck. You know, and like they took away my safe place.
Oh, and you just made me think too. Shout out to all the classic Universal monsters. So, the Invisible Man, the Wolfman, Frankenstein's monster, Creature from the Black Lagoon.
That's an entirely different conversation. So we're talking about like icons of horror, and like we took that kind of in a very specific direction. But I feel like movie monsters. Like, what's your favorite movie monster? Like, it doesn't have to be necessarily the Wolfman. It could be werewolves. It could be vampires. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay. Oh, so like taking it really general.
Yeah, taking it super. Like, what do you like of all? Because like, man, I love all of them. I love vampires. I love werewolves. I love zombies. I would have to say, for obvious reasons, you heard me talk before, zombies win for me a lot of the time. But bro, I love vampires and werewolves.
The one that I find the most scariest are I think just ghosts in general. Like if it's ghost or haunting movies, that's usually my go-to for the genre, I guess, for horror movies. Or I guess this isn't answering your question as much because it's not picking one of those specific monsters, but ghost or like possessions.
Those
so I guess
scare me the
that's
most.
demons.
Demons and ghosts scare me. Those movies frighten me the most. I like the other ones more, but I don't really get that scared.
Demonic possession movies don't frighten me in the least. Those are some of the ones that I've been able to watch all throughout my life without being scared by.
Can't do it. Freaks me out.
There were so many people who I had to deal with throughout my career who showed so many of those traits, those signs, and those qualities that when I watch those movies, to me, it's more like watching a psychological experiment, right? It's you're watching a mental health collapse. And so for me, those movies are nothing more than a mental health collapse. So they I don't know. I'm able to suspend disbelief or not able to suspend disbelief when I watch demonic possession movies. But
So, it's funny you say that because there's a Marvel show on Hulu. It was one of the last ones that got okayed, called Hellstrom, and I watched all of it. And I think he's like the son of the devil or something, but they don't really get too into it. But the very first like possession, right? It's a kid and he's like writing with his shit on the wall and like freaking out and blah blah blah. And instead of exercising the kid, he's like, "You're faking this shit. You're not. This isn't real." And like he called him on it, and it was a fake possession, and it was funny. That's what you made me think of just now. But that show's really good. I like that show a lot. It was
So, and to answer your question about classic movie monsters, I'm also torn. If we were to play Vampire Masquerade, a tabletop role playing game, I would probably want to play a werewolf, not a vampire. I think the Frankenstein monster of those monsters, I think Frankenstein's monster is the most iconic of all of those. Frankenstein's monster doesn't really need to change and will always hold a very pivotal spot where kind of Wolfman and Invisible Man have faded to obscurity. And then my personal favorite, which I 3 answers, right? What a dickhead. I think mummies are like super cool.
Mummies are cool.
Tombs are cool. Pyramids are cool. All the hieroglyphs
movies.
are cool. Curses are cool. There's just
Especially when Brendan Fraser's involved.
God, I gotta love that Brendan Fraser.
No, I'm talking about mummies, just mummies, right? Not particularly the movie Mummy. In
You
fact,
mean not the 2 greatest mummy movies of all time?
maybe parts of those movies without the lead, just the mummy parts. Because I'm talking about the actual mummy, right? Not Brendan fucking Fraser. No, mummies are cool, right? Their curse goes across the world, and you have to fucking confront the mummy, talk to the mummy. They got plagues, and they control swarms of locusts. There's all kinds of terrible shit going on with the mummy.
Well, I think also just because historically mummification is real. I mean, they're not necessarily getting up later and walking around or anything like that, but the idea of it was a real thing.
Yeah.
And I think that adds to it, the history there and everything. Like the imagery in movies of that process taking place is always very fascinating to me. So I that's actually a really good answer that I hadn't even thought about.
No, that's a good one, man. Mummies, that's a good pick, man. That's a good pick. I would go zombies. So you said Frankenstein is the most iconic, and I was going to fight you on that until you said what you said about how he stays the same. The other 2 spawned their own genres.
Yes.
Vampire, werewolves. I'll watch any vampire and werewolf movie pretty much.
But, I mean, werewolves and vampire, those genres weren't spawned by those creatures. Those genres were old folk tales for hundreds of years in Eastern Europe that went to film.
But modern vampires, specifically modern vampires, were mostly brought on by Dracula. But you're not wrong. Yeah, it's definitely an amalgam of myth.
It's a good old, it's a mythological story, and those seem to stick around through time. Even Thor and Loki are still around, right? Even they've been reimagined, and they're nothing like they were in the Norse gods, but they're still around. Mythology sticks around for some reason.
We're weird creatures.
I'm glad that we were all able to definitively agree that the Leprechaun from the Leprechaun movie is the most iconic horror villain and the best one.
And Pumpkinhead is number 2, but only barely.
Man, those are good ones. Yeah, man, I don't know. There's so many good horror movies. Like I said, I enjoy when I say enjoy, I mean not necessarily scared, but I enjoyed the self-aware ones a lot. I forget what it's called, but there's a movie where someone's like doing a documentary on like essentially Jason Voorhees. Like they talk to him when he's not wearing the mask. He's like, yeah, when like he went behind, like he went out of sight, and then he starts running like really really fast, and then he starts walking all. It's so funny, dude. And then like they showed him practicing playing dead, and he like buried himself alive in a coffin for like 3 days, and he's just like a master of the craft. And it's just really funny. They were talking about, and he was actually murdering people. I forget what the movie's called. But I like those. Those are funny. But yeah, I feel like I just like zombie movies, man. I'm sorry. Can't.
No, we know. We've heard you talk about zombies before. No, I'm just giving you a hard time. I know. I actually respect your appreciation of zombies, so I'll give you credit where credit's due.
Hey, thanks. I'm a connoisseur.
Well, perfect. And I'm sure that there's somebody that's listening to this that's like screaming at their computer or their phone or whatever they're listening to this on about some villain or creature or something that we didn't give mention to. And, I'm sorry, but also not sorry. It must not be that iconic if we didn't talk about it.
Sometimes things slip through the crack. Yeah.
Man,
yeah, you
they're
tell
sitting
them
there
true.
at home like, Mothman, talk about Mothman.
Perfect. Well, we'll move on to our fresh out the podcast takes. And any of y'all want to start off with anything that you've been enjoying here recently?
Uh,
Yeah, good.
I can
Wu-Tang.
start if you want.
I was going to complain that my Wu-Tang saga has come to an end.
Oh, so the complaint is that it's over, not anything.
Yes.
Not actually a complaint with the content itself.
No, in fact, I think last time we spoke, I told you that it like mid season 2, it just got better out of nowhere for some reason. It stayed good all the way through until the end of season 2, and like halfway through the episode, I could tell from the pacing. I was like, oh no, this must be it. And I went back and looked, and if it is, it's episode 10. And I don't know if they're greenlit yet for season 3. But I hope so in due time. Godspeed, Wu-Tang. And now anybody who's been listening along, waiting for it to end so that you can binge watch it and get caught up, it's over. You can now binge watch 2 seasons, 20 episodes of Wu-Tang American Saga on Hulu. It's great, man. It's all about them, their lives coming up in the ghetto in Staten Island in like 80s New York, and sort of rising into prominence and going to the main island and getting signed on to major labels and everything that comes along with all of their attitudes along the way. It's fun. And season 1 kind of focuses on family. Season 2 more on the band and more on business.
Well, I'm sorry for you that that's over, but I'm also glad that it seems to still be on a positive note as far as your enjoyment of the show. So that's good.
Yeah, they didn't do like a Dexter or anything and shoot themselves in the foot on the way out the door. They went out with a good season finale. Hopefully it's not their series finale, right? Dexter had a bunch of good season finales. It's the series finale that you need to be worried about. Have you guys watched anything good? Any good streaming shows on in your lives?
Oh, go ahead, John. I've talked enough.
Yeah. So I've only watched the first 3, but I'm watching Alice in Borderlands. It's a Japanese show, Netflix original. It's amazing. It's so good. So it is, for anyone that knows what these things I'm about to say are, it's a combination of Squid Games meets Gantz, which is an anime, meets a little bit of Battle Royale, the movie, and it came before Squid Games. This is actually older than Squid Games, but like I don't know, it has a similar thing going on, Deadly Games, that kind of stuff, and it's based on a manga, and it's very cool. It looks great visually. It's dark, it's gory. It's kind of fucked up, but it's a good watch.
This is an anime, so this is an animated show?
This is live action.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
No, this is a live action show. It's based on a manga, but Gantz is an anime that this reminds me very heavily of, but they're very different at the same time. I love the show. I recommend it to anybody that liked Squid Games or Gantz or Battle Royale or just good stuff to watch. I like it a lot.
And this just came out on Netflix?
No, this has been out for maybe a year or 2.
Oh, okay.
It's
okay.
So it actually predates Squid Games, and I've only watched the first 3 episodes. Love it.
But if you've just finished Squid Game and that, obviously everybody in the country or in the world is watching Squid Game since it's their Netflix's most watched show of all time now, I believe is what they've announced. So I guess if you're wanting more of something like that, this is the show you can turn to.
This is the show that could scratch that itch for you, very much so.
And it has nothing to do with the Borderlands video games, I assume?
No. Nothing to do. I don't actually know necessarily what they're referencing. It kind of has to do with like a parallel area. So I don't want to give away too much, but yeah, it's cool, man. The first game, people are getting caught on fire. Second game, people are getting mowed down. It's just a good time.
That reminds me, Jahan, you got me watching Justice League, and I also started watching Lock and Key Season 1. Lock and Key, I wasn't hooked on, but I may give it another shot. I like some of the things they're doing there. They tell a lot of different stories from each different character's perspective. So there are adult stories in conjunction with with children's stories, and there's like a wondrous kid is sort of the vehicle for the story, and so you can even watch it with your family. It has a little bit of spookiness in it and a little bit of language, but it's
You can
not.
watch it with your family.
Yeah, you
if your
could
kid's
watch it
like
with your
13
family.
or older, I'd say no problem. I can't
It's
really
got
remember
something kind of
six.
it's got some kind of cool family aesthetic to it from all the different angles of storytelling, because there are two different teenagers having stories, a boy and a girl. There's the little kid having his story and the mom, and there are multiple storylines intersecting and crossing, and that's just in the first 3 episodes. Definitely, Chahan's been preaching Young Justice and Lock and Key for a while, and Young Justice slaps hard,
It
and Lock
does.
and Key definitely has something going. It's got something there.
Hey, I watch a lot of stuff. I pick up a thing or two every now and again. But yeah, no, I actually recently finished season 2 of Lock and Key. It was good. I liked it. Cool stuff happened. They introduced new lore. They set up for a cool season 3. I don't feel like it was necessarily as good as season 1. But I really just enjoy anything where there's this lore to unravel, especially when it has to do with magic. I like learning the rules of different magics when it comes to fiction. I enjoy that a lot. And in case you couldn't tell, the magic in this has to do with keys. So, very cool. And they can do all kinds of things. I don't know. There's a variety. It's fun. I recommend watching it for sure.
Well, speaking of streaming, I'm not gonna go into Dune once again too much because obviously our whole episode last week was dedicated to that. But I actually did watch Dune again. So the first time I saw it in theaters. The second time that I watched it actually split over the course of 2 nights. I watched half of it one night, half of it the next, on HBO Max. And thoroughly enjoyed it the second time once again. And I will say, not to go in too much in depth on it, but one of my not necessarily a complaint, but one of my notes from the first viewing was how, if you remember, I said that Rebecca Ferguson's character as Lady Jessica, the Bene Gesserit, I said I thought she was great, but she didn't steal the movie for me, and I think that's what I wanted, so it left me wanting more. And I feel differently the second time around. I feel like she did steal the movie this time. I thought she rules. I thought she's great.
Just so good.
And, yeah, and so my takeaway is that nope, I was just maybe more reserved after my first viewing. After the second viewing, she was excellent. So
We already know what you were thinking after your first viewing, because you tried to convince us to jump on the Timothy Chalamet bandwagon with you. You were
I'm on it all
just
day.
blown away by his eyes, and you were falling in love that whole damn time.
I'm not going to deny any of that, and that's all still accurate. So none of that changed. We did see Dune 2 got confirmed this week. So
yeah, that was a
like
relief.
it's really happening October of 2023, so 2 years from now, which I can wait 2 years for part 2. That sounds
I think
reasonable. As
I
long
think
as it
our
really
rev-
happens.
Our review after last week, after Dune, was how long are we going to have to wait for Dune 2, because we'd love to see it. I think that was our general consensus, was none of us shit on Dune and none of us hated it.
We all
were all
liked it,
just
yeah.
like, hopefully they can get Dune 2 done and get the same people. And so we're going to get it, I think. So great. Good
Well,
for
it made
everyone.
a buttload of money already, so
Good job.
My biggest fear was it was going to be, a 5-year wait or something for part 2, and then it'd be too far out of the consciousness or something. But
And so
it comes out in 2 years.
I
if it
already
really
expected to
happens.
hear contractual problems where, they can't get so and so because they're filming something else. But with a 2-year turnaround, I'm more hopeful.
how
Yeah.
long has it been since Avatar came out?
Oh gosh, 2009.
Jeez.
120
and
years.
we're I think it's finally going to happen.
And they're
gonna get
making
part
like
2
3 or 4 more
next year. I think we're for sure getting part 2 in 2022, which will be, a mere 13 years.
I'm gonna be watching the
First one came
last
out?
one in the saga on my deathbed probably, and it's gonna be disappointing.
Which the crazy thing too, you have to realize is that, Avatar came out in 2009. So assuming the Avatar 2 comes out and really does finally come out in 2022, that's 13 years in between. But before Avatar, James Cameron's last movie before that was Titanic, which came out in 1997, I believe. So that 12 years between those. So he just takes his sweet time, and people make jokes about him and say, he's lost it. This is going to not be good. And then watch Avatar 2 be the newest, highest grossing movie of all time.
I don't know what people do or don't like about Avatar. I think that movie is just so fucking normal. It really reminds me of How to Train Your Dragon. I think both of those movies are cool, and I think they're both fine. And I don't know why one is the highest grossing movie and the other one is just a fine DreamWorks film.
Yeah, Avatar is pretty basic.
It's we consume so much fantasy. we consume so much fantasy and so many superheroes and so much magic that, like, that to me isn't anything. It's that world isn't really new. It's not really cool. It's not really that fresh.
To be fair, it was literally written by like a 12-year-old because he wrote that in like junior high. Apparently, that's the story.
And here's the thing. Oh, go ahead, Gary.
I was gonna say, I do think that Tree of Life at like Disney World, or that's where it's at, right? I think that is cool as fuck. And I would love
in the Avatar section there
in the Avatar
Pandora.
Park. Yeah, I think that Avatar Park with all that bioluminescent stuff and the giant tree, I think that would be awesome to go to. But it doesn't have to be Avatar. It could have been any fantasy setting that has plants like that. That's cool as hell.
I could dissect the things that are wrong with Avatar all day. We probably should avoid it.
It's funny how talking about a rewatch of Dune has led to an Avatar discussion, but I'm not cutting it off yet because I have one more thing to add to it, which is that, the biggest complaint from Avatar haters right after it came out was like, oh, it's just so derivative, it's this, and, basically compared all the things that it basically was just a copy of, which, sure, but visually and technologically, it was pretty revolutionary at the time. That being said, we're now in an age where the highest grossing movies are all superhero and comic book movies. Like, it's fine for things to be derivative now. Everything's derivative now. So at this point, which again, I'm a fan of the Marvel movies. I go see all of them. I like those movies. I like comic books, but I'll happily go see a new Avatar movie as it's something different from the MCU or whatever. I'll go see it.
At the end of the day, the moral of the story is if you want to have the highest grossing movie, cast Zoe Saldana.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say cast a bunch of CG.
No, cast Zoe Saldana. She's in every high grossing movie ever.
The only other thing also about Dune I wanted to know is they were able to get a hold of some of the viewership numbers over the weekend, or from its opening weekend, and it sounds like about 1.9 million people watched, or excuse me, 1.9 million households watched Dune in the first Thursday through Sunday that it was available. So, which that's compared to 1.8 million. So more people watched Dune than watched Zack Snyder's Justice League the weekend it was available.
Well, yeah, one of those movies sucks.
Compared to something like In the Heights, which also had only 0.7 million in its first weekend. And the thing with Dune is that Dune also made about $40 million at the box office that opening weekend as well, which is, of the movies, I believe that's the highest grossing opening weekend of any of Warner Brothers movies that was released this year in theaters and on HBO Max day and date. Does that make sense?
But that's a whole lot of caveats.
So that's the argument has been for theatrical exclusivity, right? We've now seen movies like Shang-Chi and Black Widow. Well, Black Widow was on Disney Plus Premiere, so we can't count that. But Shang-Chi and I'm blanking now on some of the other recent theatrical releases that have made good money. But movies are able to make money at the box office now with theatrical exclusivity, and the ones that are released on streaming also are getting a lower box office weekend gross, which is understandable because you can watch it at home. And so it's noteworthy that Dune is the highest grossing in theaters of the ones on HBO Max. Made more money than the Suicide Squad did in its opening weekend in theaters, which it was a different time back a couple months ago when the Suicide Squad came out, when the Delta variant COVID was really peaking at that time. Right now, things have gotten a little bit better. So there's a lot. Yeah. So yes, you're right. There's a lot of, a lot of caveats there, but I think it's noteworthy in the with reviews being so positive as well. And it really seems like the cast for Dune has been championing it a lot recently, that maybe they really enjoyed making it, or they really want to see it through. So hopefully that bodes well for everybody coming back and reprising their roles, and we don't have to see anybody get recast.
Apparently, I found out Timothy Chalamet had, when he was a teenager, a YouTube channel where he modded Xbox controllers.
I saw that headline. I haven't sought out any of the videos, but I did see that headline.
It's pretty funny. I don't know. It's interesting. He came really far, really fast. It's impressive. Good for him.
Speaking of theatrical releases, also, I did go to the theaters this week, and I saw Last Night in Soho, which is Edgar Wright's new film. For those who don't know, Edgar Wright is the director of such movies as Baby Driver and The World's End and Scott Pilgrim versus the World, Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead. So he's very, well known for just having a strong sense of style in his movies. And
Edgar Wright is also the sworn nemesis of Edgar Wrong.
God, I just don't know. I should just keep going, but I was thinking about this the other day, that I have this tendency that if I'm talking about a subject I want to talk on and y'all interrupt with one of these jokes, my instinct is to just brush over it and keep going. But I do just have to note that they make me laugh, but also just chip away at my soul a little bit at the same time.
Yeah, that's
it
the
is.
pain.
It is these particular setups where I know that you have a good role and a good rant that you're about to go on, and you have a good point to prove, that I know I have to interject with some piece of shit fact. I know that I have to.
I talk a lot. I like to talk. I'm on a podcast. That's why.
And your thoughts are really well planned and laid out. You obviously have, what you're gonna say before you open your mouth.
Yeah,
and
really sticking the spokes on you.
Yeah, and I don't. So that's what makes this so much better. Is I know you're on a roll, and I'm like, boy, I bet he wants to know about Edgar Wrong right now.
It's one of my wife's biggest complaints about me too, is I'll, have a point that I'm wanting to make and she'll interrupt me with the joke and I'll ignore it and keep going. And she's like, come on, give me some credit. And I'll, at the end have to say, oh, I heard you. I heard it.
No, you can feel free to blow me off.
Anyway, backtracking. Scott Pilgrim is honestly one of my favorite movies of all time. It's up there for me. I think
it's Jenny's favorite movie of all time.
And I really liked Baby Driver as well. We know, and not to go on another tangent, but Edgar Wright was supposed to direct Ant-Man, the original Ant-Man, and had creative differences with Marvel because, they wanted him to make an MCU movie and he wanted to make an Edgar Wright movie. And I think he is credited as a writer on Ant-Man and an executive producer, but he did not end up directing it. But that was a big thing at the time, is, I wish I could have seen what Edgar Wright's Ant-Man would have looked like. Anyway, Edgar Wright puts out a new movie, I'll go see it. And I went to go see Last Night in Soho, which I don't know if y'all have seen the trailer for this.
It looks really good.
Yeah, the general premise is there's a girl who goes to school in London for fashion design. It's in modern times, and she gets her own place while she's going to school, and whenever she goes to sleep in her new pad, she wakes up in the past, in the 60s, seeing visions of a girl in the 60s and what she goes through. And at the beginning, those what her visions and what she's seeing of the 60s give her inspiration for her designs and things like that. But then the movie takes on a bit of a horror twist with that. So I won't spoil anything of where the movie goes. Um, I will just say, so it stars Thomas and McKenzie plays the main girl, which she is in Jojo Rabbit. She's in Old, M. Night Shyamalan's Old, and she's seems to be very up and coming. She's been in a lot more stuff recently, and she's the lead. And in the past, the visions are of the characters played by Anya Taylor-Joy, who, of course, everybody knows recently from The Queen's Gambit.
She was also Magic.
Yeah, she was Magic in New Mutants. She was in Split, the M. Night Shyamalan movie Split with James McAvoy, and in the sequel Glass. Isn't that what it was called?
Yes.
Yeah, Glass. Which I think that she's incredible in
She's
everything
really good,
that she's in, and she's really good in this. And Thomas and McKenzie's really good in this. Their performances are good. And I really dug the first half of the movie and the setup and the visuals, and I liked the visuals throughout. But just when the horror stuff started to kick in, which I feel like should have been when I started going, oh yeah, all right, let's see where this goes. It was the stuff I was less interested in. I didn't like where the story went as much per se. Not to say I didn't enjoy the movie, I did, but it was just I really liked the opening, maybe third or to a half. In the latter half, I was less enthused about. But otherwise, I still thought it was good. Again, if you want to go see an original story in theaters that's not a franchise, something cool and visual and different, I would recommend it. But it just wasn't on the same level as his past movies for me as some of his more recent ones.
I do really want to see it. Looks really good. Also, I'd like
Drew,
to point out
real
Matt
quick,
Smith, the 11th Doctor, is in this movie. So,
He is, and he's really good in it as well.
Real quick, Drew, how do you feel about Baby Driver? We had somebody in the chat say that they had never seen it. Of course, I'm a huge fan of Baby Driver. I know that Thomas, my brother, did not like Baby Driver, so opinions are all over the place on this one. I liked
a
it.
lot of good things. I haven't seen it either.
I really liked Baby Driver. I think it's just oozing with style. I love the soundtrack and the way that the music is infused into the movie, which I think is the key takeaway from it. It's just the how much the action lines up with the music and everything, which is obviously very intentional.
Apparently, when you're listening to it in headphones, anytime he takes one of his headphones out, the music stops playing in that headphone while you're watching the movie. If you just a little Easter egg there for you.
That's kind of cool. Like, that's when the audio turns left or right on the mixer.
Something like that. I mean, you can still hear the rest of the movie out of both, but the music stops.
How
How is it a full-size car, or is the baby driving like a smaller car?
So it is a smaller car because it's baby sized, but the people who need to get away are actual people sized. So it's a strange looking vehicle with a small driver's seat and small pedals, but regular sized passenger seat and back seat. And of course, the baby driver is strapped.
Thank you for indulging in that, Gary. I appreciate it.
Not a problem.
I've been wanting to make that joke since someone said baby driver.
So the whole thing, I'm with Drew. The music is awesome. It's timed up perfectly. It's a getaway driver movie, and I think car chases are cool. So I'm totally all about it. It's just a bunch of car chases and music timed up to car chases and gunshots in a fun way. Jamie Foxx is a bit extra in it, but whatever.
Yeah, and in Baby Driver, I think there's a lot of big names that show up throughout that movie because of course you've got Ansel Elgort plays the lead, but then you've got Jamie Foxx and John Hamm, and I feel like there's others I'm forgetting. Well, there's He Who Must Not Be Named that's also in that movie, but we won't talk about him. And there's some others, but Last Night in Soho is very contained by comparison because you have the two female leads that I mentioned. You have Matt Smith, who Jahan mentioned, by the way, I'm not a Doctor Who fan, and I haven't seen a whole lot of the stuff that Matt Smith is in, but he has just a very striking appearance.
He does.
For
he has a memorable face.
So he fits well in something like this just because he's so interesting to look at. I don't know how else to describe him.
He's got quite the face.
Which I want to say, is he one of the people that's in the new
Yes.
Game of Thrones spinoff, The House of Dragons?
One of the Targaryens in the House of Dragons spin-off show.
I would be excited just to see that for him, because I found him to be so intense and intriguing in Last Night in Soho that I'm like, okay,
good actor.
I'll watch anything.
Literally, the worst thing about Doctor Who is when I started watching it, he was the Doctor. And so I thought that Doctor Who was fucking awesome, and it isn't. Matt Smith is fucking awesome.
It says a lot, because David Tennant blew it out of the water with his Doctor Who. Matt Smith had to follow that, and he killed it. I'm actually currently on his run of the Doctor, and I'm rewatching, obviously. It's so I forgot how good it was. Because, like, while I was watching David Tennant, towards the end of it, I was like, I just want to get to Matt Smith. Because Matt Smith's so good.
I will poop on Doctor Who all day, and I have nothing but love for Matt Smith. I can't wait to see him in more shit. It's not his fault he was Doctor Who.
The other person worth noting in Last Night in Soho is Diana Rigg, is in it in her last performance before she passed away. But y'all would know her as... Olenna Tyrell from Game of Thrones. So if you remember,
rip.
Yeah, so she's awesome in Game of Thrones, very memorable role in that, and she's good in Last Night in Soho as well. But just worth noting that it was her last acting role, I believe, before passing.
She absolutely crushed it in Game of Thrones. She's like one of the top 5 fucking best characters by the end of that series.
She's
so
amazing.
Yeah, man.
Fun fact. The episode of Doctor Who that I just watched had her in it. So,
dang, it's a whole thing.
No.
Well, thank you for bringing it back to Doctor Who again after I thought that we escaped it. But great. Sorry to keep talking about movie stuff. I've got one other movie that I wanted to mention, which is, you actually talked about this earlier, Jahan, in our horror iconography conversation. Scream, 1996. I had never seen it. This is one of the... Yeah, I know. So this had eluded me. Ironically, I've seen Scary Movie about 80 times. So, which I knew spoofed Scream, but now finally watching Scream, I didn't realize that like 90% of the spoofs in Scary Movie are directly from Scream.
Yes.
But I'd always heard Scream was... the most meta of the horror movies and of the slasher films. And, I'd always heard that, and I didn't really understand what that meant until seeing it. Which is,
so good.
They're all very self-aware of real life horror movies, and they keep comparing the situations they're going through to actual existing horror movies. And that angle of it is fun when you're seeing it on screen. But I mean, Scream, it's like practically a comedy as much as it is a slasher movie. It has some genuine laughs in it. Maybe they're not intentional. The movie's over, about 25 years old now, but I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I was going to say, even the cast at the time, they knowingly cast some comedians in it. I think they knew what they were doing. Yeah. I think they were pretty aware of it.
Yeah, it seems like it. And so I had just to get into my nerdiness as far as physical media, I had pre-ordered... The Scream was coming out in October on 4K UHD Blu-ray disc, and so I had pre-ordered it. And I guess it was an issue where it's a Miramax movie, and so I think Paramount or somebody is the one producing the 4K Blu-rays. And I don't know if they just didn't produce enough or anything, but on all the forums I follow, like, everybody who ordered it, it got back ordered. They didn't receive their copies. Mine didn't come, and it's delayed. I'm supposed to receive it like December or something. So I was pretty disappointed because I was looking forward to finally watching it before Halloween, and I gave in, and so I purchased it for $9.99 on iTunes because they just had the 4K version there. Nice. I'll probably still get the disc when it comes out, but I didn't want to wait. So anyway, that's half the reason that I wanted to watch it, but also that, you know, Scream, I believe it's the 5th Scream movie is coming out in theaters in January. There's
They
a
brought
trailer
original
out.
cast back, didn't they?
Yeah, so there's a trailer out for it now, and so I said, you know what, this is it. I'm gonna go back and watch the first 4 Scream movies that I haven't seen, and I have now seen the first one and liked it a lot. So
Why
there you
is
go.
it coming out in January?
I don't know.
Okay.
I think, you know what?
You mean in the dead of winter?
My best guess is that it's a pretty crowded fall and winter for movies as it is, just because of all the COVID delays that are now finally actually coming out. So
If
maybe
we wait to release it, we can make a killing.
oh boy. Yeah. So January is probably pretty barren on the movie front. So maybe that's why.
Yeah, no,
Anyway.
I really like Scream. I liked it a lot. I do believe.
That's
Let me see. Didn't you watch another movie?
I want Drew to talk about the
Oh,
Lightyear trailer. That's what I want to
Lightyear
have.
Oh,
trailer.
yeah. Have y'all watched this?
Yeah,
Yes.
hell yeah.
What did y'all think of this? This is the Lightyear trailer. This is the new Pixar film coming out, I believe, next summer or summer of 2022. But this is basically the Buzz Lightyear origin story, but not the origin of the toy. This is the origin of the real person, Buzz Lightyear, that the toy is based on. Talking about meta, man. I said Scream was meta. I said this is meta. Facebook is now meta. If you know, you know. So anyway,
It's permeating the collective unconscious. Damn you, Zuckerberg!
but yeah, what did y'all think of this trailer? I'm curious to get y'all's thoughts.
I don't know what to think. There wasn't a lot. You didn't see a lot of what was going on. It looked amazing. Like, it looked really good visually. I'm excited for it. But, so also, a lot of people were, like, talking about this, like, oh, it's about the guy. That's crazy. But, I mean, there was an animated show that was all about a space ranger a long time ago. And, you know what I mean? Like, that kind of beat it. It's not new, but they are going a much more grounded in reality style thing. And it looks interesting. I don't know what to think yet. It looks really good. I don't know what the story's going to be. Is he going to fight Zurg?
Hell yeah, he's gonna fight Zurg.
Is it
Sure,
his father?
sure.
Like, what's going on?
That's a good point.
It looks dope as fuck.
It looks great. I'm gonna watch it.
I mean,
I'm gonna say that the trailer, not the movie, right? Because we haven't seen the movie. I'll say that trailer is certifiably fresh out the box.
It's pretty. It's so good looking.
yeah, I mean, that is so Gary's summary is how I feel about it, and this is something that when it was announced a while back, I was like, oh, that's weird. And then the trailer came out, and I said, oh, I'll give this a watch. Like, I'm just intrigued enough. And the trailer kind of blew me away. Not necessarily because of the content or the story, but just the visuals. I mean, how do Pixar movies keep one-upping themselves from a visual standpoint and looking better and better? I just
Best
thought
animation
this
studio
looked-
around.
Yeah, it looks incredible from an animation standpoint. It just looks amazing. I was blown away. And that was watching it on my phone. Like, I haven't even watched it on in a theater. I was watching it on my phone.
I watched it on my computer, and it looked so good. I watched it like full screen. I was like right before we started streaming. It looked so good. Yeah, no, graphics are getting crazy, man. Like, I've seen some stuff lately that I could barely tell was computer generated. I was like, oh god. Like,
I remember watching Toy Story 1 when at the end of the movie they're having the RC car chase down the street and being like, man, that street looks really good. And then now, like when I most recently watched Toy Story 4, the streets look so good. The concrete, the cracks, the discoloration in the paints and the chips and the imperfections. Literally nothing in any background is perfect in that entire universe, just like real life. There are small inconsistencies everywhere, and they read so well on screen. It's just so, and we're getting even more of it with Lightyear. And except this time we're getting an action-packed universe and not. And I do love that Toy Story takes place in a house, right, or in regular locations. but it's going to be cool to be able to see how fantastic they can go now. Now they're not limited to a house. They're not limited by anything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, honestly, with the computer graphics, I feel like they could have done even better, but I think they might have left it at a certain level to keep it with that animated quality, honestly. At this point, we're starting to get to the point where you have to choose ultra realism, where it looks real, or you have to, like, keep that animated thing, like, consciously, because the technology's there to do either, and it's just nuts now.
Kind of gets into the Nintendo of it all, right? It's like how
Yeah, that's a good point.
you know, you've got games on your Xbox Series X or the PS5 that have a more photorealistic look, but maybe don't run as well, or you know, whatever. Whereas you've got the Switch that can't process those games, but then a game like Breath of the Wild or something like that takes a certain art style instead, that you don't need the crazy photorealistic graphics. That game looks beautiful in its own right just because of the art style. So
No, that's a
yeah,
great equivalency there. Yeah.
I don't
yeah.
think
So
that
like,
it's photorealism that draws most 90% of gamers. I don't think it's photorealistic graphics that draw us to a game, anyways. I
right.
think it's stylized art and gameplay.
Yeah.
You can take your photorealistic stuff and shove it up your ass. Give me something beautiful. Give me something you're proud
I
of.
like it a lot in certain games. I like it for horror, and I like it for, like, shooters. Sometimes. Arcadey, cartoony shooters are great, too. But I do like it sometimes. But
Playing
yeah, no,
something like The Last of Us Part 2 that I played last summer, the realism of it and how good it looks definitely adds to the experience of that game, because it just blew me away the whole time. And it's got really great gameplay. It's a really great, one of the better games I ever played on my PS4. So
my older brother, he's recently become, like, a huge gamer. His husband is a huge gamer, so, like, it's kind of, you know, upped his game. He's always played games, but now he's, like, really into it, and he loved the Last of Us series. He said it was so good.
That is another series that, talking about Pixar and their imperfections, and that's what makes everything so beautiful. Naughty Dog does the same thing, and The Last of Us is perfect at that. The decomposing world around you is just so fucking gorgeous.
this actually works because we kind of, the Lightyear trailer transitioned us to talking about video games. Did y'all have anything else that you wanted to talk about that you watched, or do we want to switch to what you've been playing or what you want to
There is
play?
another trailer that I saw that looked amazing. Have you guys seen the most recent Ghostbusters trailer?
This might shock you. Honestly, I don't think I have. Maybe I have.
It just
but
came
with
out.
It's just one of those movies that I'm sold on as it is. I'm gonna
Gotcha.
go see it, and I think I kind of hit a point where, like, the less I see moving forward, the better, because I don't want to spoil too much of
Yeah.
it. So I think after the first, or I feel like I've seen two trailers for this movie. There's the one that came out pre-pandemic that I feel like we've been seeing for forever,
Yeah.
and then there was a newer one that came out more recently. So I don't know if that's the same one or if
It
there's
might
an
be.
even
It
newer
has
one.
it has the kids in it a lot. And, like, I think you saw the one that was, like, a trimmed version of what I saw today. But, man, it looks so good. It's Halloween, so, like, I'm extra excited. I kind of want to go downstairs and watch Ghostbusters after this. But it looks amazing.
When
Like,
does this one come out? January? Right in the fucking heart of spooky
I
season?
think this one comes out right around Thanksgiving, actually.
so this one's
Ooh,
almost out. I will be seeing this as soon as I can. It looks so good.
That'll probably be one that Gary
November
mentioned
19th.
this before, but we'll yeah, so November 19th. We'll probably have to invite Gary's brother on the episode for that one. Maybe we'll see if he has to, you know, we have to give him some tests and things beforehand before he can be approved to be on the show.
You know, Ben is a big Ghostbusters fan too. We could see if they would fight to the death, and we could just, whichever one wins can be on the podcast.
Yeah, because I just think that the perspective of someone who was a kid when the initial Ghostbusters movies came out that have, I mean, I love the Ghostbusters movies, but I don't have the same level of nostalgia as maybe they do. So I'd love to have somebody's take,
When did the
you know,
originals
coming
come out?
from that perspective. for the new one because I know they're extremely excited.
Let's see, because I remember I saw Ghostbusters when I was a kid.
Yeah, it's been around me my whole life. I had the toys. Thomas had the toys. I had the toys, but Thomas would have been
one of my
2.
Sorry, good.
I think Thomas would have been 2 when the first one came out, but then old enough to see the second one in theaters. And I think he did go see the second one in theaters with my dad.
That's cool. Nah,
I had older sisters and not older brothers, so it just Ghostbusters was not in the regular rotation at my house growing up, and I think I finally sought it out when I was either in high school or college and watched it for the first time then. So
wow, that's crazy. See, my mother is a cinephile, and so I saw everything all the time, and I saw the first Ghostbusters when I was like 6, probably. One of my earliest memories was getting the old lady. It was an old lady Ghostbusters toy, and her mouth opened like this big, like like it was like 2 feet of mouth. Yeah, I love Ghostbusters.
We had one that was like a little orange claptrap with a spring tongue, and if you put your finger on his tongue, he clamped down way too hard, like enough to like fucking bruise your knuckle. And we used to play with those all the time. I love those old Ghostbusters
Nothing's
toys.
better than a toy that can hurt you.
I used to fuck with Extreme Ghostbusters, the cartoon show before school.
So good.
Yeah, man, that show went hard. It's on Hulu, and it actually holds up.
That show went hard.
And see, this is what you have to realize: is this is what y'all were growing up with. Whereas, meanwhile, I had sisters who would turn off the movies I was watching and put on such cinematic classics as My Girl or Father of the Bride. Like those were the types of movies that I was subjected to, as opposed to like Ghostbusters and RoboCop.
Hey, I watched those too.
And then also, for those kinds of shows, like I'm just sitting wanting to watch Power Rangers as a kid, and instead I get switched over and have to watch, Full House and Saved by the Bell. So that's what I grew up with and has influenced me. So yeah, it's just different.
I would say that, like, even as a kid, some of my earliest comedic influences were Dan Aykroyd, Chris Farley, and Bill Murray. And of course, Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray are both in Ghostbusters, and Chris Farley was pumping out movies at the same time, like in the theater next door. So those guys were some of my comedy legends. I've got a good soft spot for Ghostbusters.
Yeah, at this point, I've seen the first Ghostbusters many times, just because once you've seen it, it's easy to get into your regular rotation. I just came to it late in life, so it's just unfortunate.
Yeah, no judgment. It's just, I feel for you,
I think we'll all go see Ghostbusters.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to have an episode, a spoiler-filled episode about that after it comes out.
The trailer, man, it was beautiful. Beautiful. But yeah, so anyways, we can move on. That was
Perfect.
Ghostbusters.
Well, what have y'all been playing, or what do you want to play, or where?
I logged into Xbox this week because Game Pass is the best value in gaming, and I was going to download Age of Empires 4, which I had been looking forward to. Fired up my Xbox and saw that it was only on PC. I'm like, okay. So I walked around, came to my PC, fired it up, downloaded it on PC. I haven't played it yet, but I was just a little. I was looking forward to it on the Xbox, and it was just for Game Pass PC. Other than that, the games that came out were a bunch of big fat farts. I'm going to read this list of big fat farts, and you can listen to them. Alan Wake's American Nightmare, which is I believe it's a remastered Xbox 360 game. A good thing that's there.
I don't think it's even remastered. I think it's just an Xbox 360 add-on for the original.
And it does seem
Alan
to be
Wake.
remastered.
Oh, okay.
Because the graphics were pretty solid.
Let's talk about Non-Guns Doppelganger Edition. You guys know what that is?
Yes.
No.
Let's talk about The Forgotten City and Moonglow Bay. 2 more big fat farts for you. And then finally, Backbone and Bassmaster Fishing. It's a good thing. It's a good thing we have all these great titles that came this week to Game Pass. At least we have Forza Horizon 4, I think, coming out next week or the week after that. And
It's actually The 5th Forza Horizon. Isn't
So
that
it is
crazy? There's been 5. Yeah, it comes out
Oh,
next
that's
week.
right.
It comes out on the 8th.
Friday, I think.
And
I thought it was on
then,
the 5th.
It says the 8th on my screen.
well, we have Forza. I was going to say we have Forza Horizon and Halo coming, right? So we have 2 things to look forward to for sure that I care about. There might be some other things that slip in the cracks. You never know what Game Pass is going to pump
Evil
out.
Geniuses 2, World Domination, comes out on the 29th of November. And that is something I've been wanting to play. Probably only on PC, I would imagine, as well.
Big fat farts, Jahan. Wet, stinky farts.
See, it's not a problem for me. I play PC. But yeah, also, so another game that came out recently that's also only PC because it's a game preview, Everspace 2, free to play currently. It's an action space game where you can race and do dogfights in space. Moonglow Bay. Actually, if you are a big fan of... damn it, I forgot what it's called. How did I forget what it's... Stardew Valley.
If you're a big fan of big fat stinky farts, Jahan, is that what you were going to say?
If you like Stardew Valley, this game looks like a decent enough follow-up if you are done with Stardew Valley and want to play something else. Non-Guns Doppelganger actually looks fine as a action-adventure platform shooter. I understand Gary's lack of interest in it. And Age of Empires 4 was pretty damn cool. The campaign's fun. It's all historical battles, and they have cool narrations, and they have live action shots of historic battlefields that they superimpose their PC characters on. They changed a lot of the gameplay. Instead of making battering rams, your troops can build them in the field. Archers can put down stakes to stop cavalry charges, that kind of stuff. A lot of tactical power-ups.
So Age of Empires 4, I'm definitely still excited for. I just, with, I got to play Civ 6 on my Xbox. I was hoping I'd get to play some of the Age of Empires, some of the new additions on the Xbox.
Well, I think...
we may get a port, right? But I'm just going to have to wait.
It would be really hard to play on Xbox, but, man, it is... I think it's like 150 gigs of a game. So it's a pretty big
game. I'm
game.
really going to enjoy that campaign.
Dude, and then when you beat a battle, you unlock a historical documentary video about like how crossbows are made or how castles are built, and it's really interesting if you like that kind of thing, and I do. So, I also played Alan Wake's American Nightmare, and I had never played it before, so it was pretty fun so far. I look forward to playing it some more.
You played that just since it's been put on Game Pass?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I played Alan Wake like last night. And I was enjoying it. It's cool. It has interesting gameplay. And the concept is really interesting. You have like an evil doppelganger guy. You're a writer. I think you wrote like the future. You have to find the pages and you have to make some of those things happen in order to cause events to transpire, which is crazy. There are shadows that take over people and you have to hit them with your flashlight and like blast the shadows out of them, and then you can shoot them to death. So it's like it's very different. I don't know. I wasn't expecting to like it, but I did.
Played the original Alan Wake when it came out, which that was over 10 years ago.
That was practically a release title.
Yeah, it came out a long time ago on the 360, and so I know that American Nightmare was some sort of added content for it, or was like a standalone, smaller game or something. So maybe I'll have to play it. I never played it back then. I'm just so far removed from Alan Wake. I know they just released a remaster for it, like a true remaster for Alan Wake, which I don't really have that much interest in playing. But maybe I'll play American Nightmare since you say it's good.
Is that a different thing?
I think so.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. American Nightmare is like specifically an Xbox 360 title of Alan Wake, not just the Alan Wake series.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, American Nightmare, I had a lot of fun. I did enjoy it. So I will be picking it up again if that says anything.
The other thing I'll know is just going back to Forza Horizon 5 for a second. It turns out the standard and deluxe editions of the game are released on the 9th of November, but the premium edition will be released on the 5th of November. So I'm not sure if Game Pass Ultimate subscribers get the premium version and maybe regular Game Pass subscribers get the standard. I'm not exactly sure. that'd be something to look into. But there is a version that releases on the 5th. That being said,
Interesting.
I do know that I was looking through my Xbox updates recently, and the Forza Horizon 5 preload kicked in, and it was sitting at just over 100 gigs for me on Series X. I think it was like 103 gigs or something like that. So it does take up a pretty portion of your.
Which is not a surprise at all. The Forza games are huge. The maps in the Horizon games are massive, and there's probably hundreds of different races. The seasons change, so the maps change where like there's frozen rivers and stuff that aren't there in other seasons. Yeah, that's going to be a giant map with a bunch of cars and a lot of other players playing, and there are world events that go on. I really like the Horizon games, but yeah, I would have been more surprised if it would have been under 100 gigs. If you'd asked me how big I thought it was, over or under, over for sure.
Yeah. Well, and then speaking of games with a lot of players playing, as you just mentioned, one thing I thought was really interesting is I just realized that the new Call of Duty Vanguard, actually comes out next week. I think it comes out on the 5th. And I feel like of recent Call of Duty releases that just, maybe this is me, I'm not a diehard Call of Duty fan by any means. I feel like there's just almost zero buzz for this new one.
Do you remember when I watched this trailer and told you guys to watch it, and I laughed out loud at how fucking uninspired of a piece of shit Call of Duty this looks like? Yeah. I will play a Call of Duty game. I know that Call of Duty fans are a lot of time toxic folk, but I like shooters, and I will play a Call of Duty game. I won't play this one. It looks like an uninspired piece of shit, and I wasn't going to play Black Ops 2 Part 4 or whatever the fuck came out last year either. Take your time and make a fucking game. I don't hate your series, I just hate when you release dog shit.
Well, there's
Vanguard
enough.
Looks like crap.
I think that there's just people that, you know, the games they buy each year are the new Madden and the new Call of Duty, and they'll buy a new GTA whenever it comes out. Like there's just the gamers, and that's what they play. And so I'm sure that Call of Duty Vanguard is still going to somehow end up being one of the, you know, highest sales of any game released this year. You know, it'll be one of the top selling games of 2021. But I just feel like as of right now, this game comes out next week, and from my perspective and my friends who play games, nobody cares.
Nobody cares, yeah.
I'll be interested to see if it kicks up next week when it comes out. Like if we start seeing, you know, advertisements for everywhere, and, you know, if people on my friends list start playing it. But as of
Battlefield come out?
Yeah, Battlefield's right on the doorstep. And that's gonna be way better than this piece of shit.
Yeah, they've done this before. Call of Duty and Battlefield, they've had these types of headbutts before, and it looks like to me, and maybe I'm speaking early, but it looks like Battlefield might come out ahead on this one. There seems to be more hype around the new Battlefield than Call of Duty Vanguard.
It seems that way for me too, and I think a big part of that is just Battlefield not being annualized the same way that Call of Duty is.
Yeah.
So I think that people are really excited for the big scale battles and the things that Battlefield has to bring, whereas the new Call of Duty just seems like it's going to be another Call of Duty game, and who cares? I mean, I'm sure the Call of Duty diehards will be playing it, but as of now, I have no interest, so we'll see.
Yeah, I'm gonna be too busy playing Battlefield, so
yeah. Just thought that was worth noting. Thought it was interesting when I saw that release date was next week.
No, it's interesting. Yeah, I didn't realize it came out so soon. I haven't heard, and I'm pretty plugged in to games. You know, I do my best to research this stuff. I haven't heard anything about this.
I told you guys when I saw this trailer, I could tell. I could see the writing on the wall when this trailer came out. I can smell these things from a mile away. This is a bad one.
Yeah.
So while we're talking about video games, and as it is Halloween, I feel like something that we didn't talk about potentially was, what's your favorite horror game? Do you have a favorite? Do you like playing horror games at all? You know,
I do. Sometimes, usually.
Sometimes, yeah.
From a franchise perspective, Gary, I'm sorry, I started talking. I'm assuming Gary's not big into horror games.
So I'm thinking, and I guess, yeah, usually horror games are not my jam, but we've been playing a lot of Back for Blood, and before that I would have told you Left 4 Dead. I like the games where I could play as the monster also. Those are the types of horror games I could get behind, like the Friday the 13th one where you swap off as Jason. I could get behind those types of horror games. Those are more fun for me, like a party horror game versus a single-player horror experience. That's not for me.
Gotcha. Yeah, multiplayer horror. Yeah, that's the thing. And also, we played World War Z. That was pretty good too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big Resident Evil fan, and I haven't always been. That's actually been a recent thing, especially with the remakes of 2 and 3 that came out in recent years.
So
Got me
good.
really on board, and I really liked 7. I played Resident Evil Village, the most recent one, so I've gone back and played some of the the remaster of Resident Evil, the first one that is on Xbox now, and a bunch of those. I'm a really big fan of the Resident Evil games. I love the just the style, the limited ammo and the having to conserve and
Yeah.
slowly progressing through the map and backtracking and finding new things, and it's just right up my alley. So I'm a really big fan of the Resident Evil games. They always kind of start off a little scary, and then you kind of get yourself on the game's level, and then it becomes less so as you go on. But that's probably the top gaming horror franchise for me. But I'll also just a shout out to PT, which was the if you remember, it was the demo that was released for PS4 maybe back in like 2014, 2015. I'm not sure what year it was, but it around like E3 or Gamescom or one of the conventions, they just kind of surprise dropped it on the PlayStation Store, and then when you completed it, it turned out to be it was basically like a preview of a new oh gosh, what's the game series?
Silent Hill.
Silent Hill. Yes, thank you. It was supposed to be like a preview for Silent Hills, and then that game ended up getting canceled. But the PT demo game that came out, I played that with some friends while I was visiting. I was out of town, and we played it in a friend's apartment with the lights off, and all of us watching one person play it and trying to figure it out, and it was horrifying. Easily one of the scariest gaming experiences I've had was the demo PT.
Nah, man. So those are some good. Those are good picks. So I love zombie games. Whatever. I know. All right. But yeah, Left 4 Dead, Left 4 Dead 2, Back 4 Blood, all great. But Resident Evil's so fun. I've played, I think, 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6, and I love them. I've also played like Code Veronica and some of the Revelation series, but I love them a lot. One of my funniest horror experiences in one of those games, I think, was 6, and I was playing with my buddy, my friend Alan. Gary knows Alan, and we're in the subways, right? We're playing split screen style too. We're in the same house. We're in the same room. And so we're killing zombies in the subway. We're in a subway car. I turn and look at his character with my character, and there's a zombie behind him. And I'm like, oh shit. And he turns around in game and screams at the top of his lungs and empties his clip and fails to kill the zombie. And like, he like woke my parents up. Like, it was a whole thing. And it was just really fucking fun. But yeah, I love Resident Evil. I will have to say, potentially, Dead Space 1 and 2. Those games, Dead Space 2 specifically, almost made me actually shit my pants. Like, I was, man, it got me so good. I was walking into a room. It was a big open room. I'm like, there's definitely a boss that's about to drop down from the ceiling. Definitely. I walk really far into the room. It doesn't happen. I drop my guard, and then it happens, and it got me. It got me so good. But that game's horrifying.
I love the first and second Dead Space, as you said. And what's crazy is I played both of those around the time they came out and loved them, and I never touched the third one. I never
Me
played
neither.
it.
I heard it was shit.
Yeah, and then of course they're doing a remake of the original Dead Space that I think comes out next year. So I'll probably jump into that, even though I've played the original a couple times.
I beat the first one when it came out. I even did like a hard playthrough. The second one, I started on a hard playthrough because I'm a masochist, and I didn't finish it. I put it down, and I beat it actually this year for the first time. So I played it very recently, and it was a good. Man, there's a scene where you have to inject a needle into your own eye. It's like a mini game. Dude, that scene is bananas. And like the fact that you're kind of going crazy. Also, honorable mention to what is it? Hell's Blade. You know what I'm talking about?
I was gonna honorable mention Detroit Beyond Human. It's not necessarily a horror game, but it's kind of a sci-fi thriller, and it's more uncomfortable and more akin to horror than it is to anything that's friendly or adventure-like.
I love that game. There's some truly unsettling moments in it, for sure.
Yes.
I would also like to mention Hell's Blade. Yeah, that's what it is. Senua's Sacrifice. And that game, they actually brought like psychologists in to simulate a person.
I think it's just Hellblade. No,
yeah, Hellblade.
Yes, that's a great game, and yes, that's a perfect example for this too. And it deals with mental health and things, and its story.
Schizophrenia, yeah.
It's very fascinating.
I can only play it in spurts because it triggers my anxiety, but it's so good. And like if you play with headphones, you can hear people behind you, like all the voice. Man, it gets overwhelming.
And Microsoft bought that studio, so the Hellblade sequel will be an Xbox exclusive.
Free on Game Pass.
To Game Pass day one, whenever it does come out. I don't know if it'll be next year or later. I think they've shown some trailers for it, but that's really been it. So I think they've just been slowly working on it.
Yeah, it is a Souls-like kind of game, but man, it's so good. It's so good. But yeah, so those are the horror games that I like. That was a good time.
Yeah. Good call bringing it around to horror games, because that's a worthwhile topic too. There's a lot of very good ones, and I like a lot of the kind of walking simulator type ones too that can be kind of creepy.
Man. Stop by next week to hear us talk about our favorite Thanksgiving games.
No.
That's it for me.
Yeah, that's it for me too. Happy Halloween.
Yeah, happy Halloween. Everybody have a safe holiday weekend, Halloween holiday weekend. And if you're listening to this after Halloween, well, I hope it was good for you. I hope you had an enjoyable time.
I hope life's good wherever this finds you. What do you got, Gary?
Nothing.
Where can you find you, Gary? Where can people find you?
I am the real devil! You can't find me anywhere except in hell, you piece of shit!
Also, at CasualtyCDG on Twitter. I'm Johannanon at RockFact on Twitter. Follow us on Fresh Out the Box on YouTube. Follow us on Twitch at Twitch TV /Johannanon. YouTube, Facebook, all that good stuff. And yeah, check us out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
And you can find me at Drew Menhausen on Twitter. Make sure to follow the Fresh Out the Box Twitter account as well. And worth noting, we are on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and we've recently expanded. We are on Google Podcasts. We are on Amazon Podcasts or Audible. So we are most places where you listen to podcasts. So you got no reason now, listen to our podcast. Check us out. Which, if you're listening to this, you already are, so that's great. That's the first step. And otherwise, thank you all for listening.
Hit us with hashtag babies drive cars as well. And yeah, we'll see you next time. everybody. Welcome back to Fresh Out the Podcast. I am Johanan, the board game guru and game master extraordinaire.
I'm usual co-host. I'm Casualty CDG. I'm a retired child crimes and human trafficking detective turned tabletop titan and improv comedian.
And I am the professional media and movie mastermind, the Funhouse, Drew Munhausen, and welcome everyone to Fresh Out the Podcast. Thank you for listening today. And I will say, now when this episode is available to you, it will be November, and there's no stopping Jahan. We've taken literally just a step out of October and into November, and Jahan's wearing a Christmas sweater. He's wanting to do holiday themed stuff already. He's just going all in. In on holiday vibes.
He's got me all fucked up because I fuck with Thanksgiving, bro. And this guy's already on to Christmas. What happened? We just went Halloween Christmas.
I will wear this is a Lord of the Rings Christmas sweater. It cost me like $80, so I'm gonna wear it as often as I can. But I also love Thanksgiving. I'm not skipping over it. I love Thanksgiving.
To be fair to you and your wallet, I love that sweater. I'm genuinely loving that sweater. So get your use out of it. And as far as I'm concerned, money well spent.
No, I love this sweater so much. And yeah, look at the podcast too. But yeah, welcome to the stream, guys. What are we talking about this week, y'all?
That's what I was going to ask you, Mr. Holiday Man.
Ooh, we can talk about whatever we want. Yeah, well, I think, we could start by talking Happy Holidays coming up. I'm excited for Thanksgiving a lot. I think I'll start it off with a question to both of you. What kind of pie are you hoping to have this year? What's your favorite kind of Thanksgiving pie?
Ooh. I actually love a good pumpkin pie. I really do. And I like it to be served cold. And I like with a nice little dollop of Cool Whip on there. That's my preferred style. I also do like a good pecan pie. Do you say pecan or do you say pecan?
Pecan.
Good.
Well, I say pecan, but just to piss people off.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I actually say pecan, but if I'm being a dick-faced troll, which is normal for me, it's pecan.
I do love a good slice of pecan pie warmed up with a big old scoop of vanilla bean ice cream on there. That's the other way I like to go.
So we actually have a couple of
scoop of vanilla bean.
True.
We have a couple of pecan trees on the property, and we got a pecan roller the first year we were living out here. And we actually can pick up enough pecans to make like 2 or 3 pecan pies.
That's pretty bad.
And so Annie made chocolate pecan pie cheesecake. And so it was like a whole layer of cheesecake with the chocolate pecan pie on top. And we had, it was absolutely fucking glorious.
That sounds incredible.
Yeah, dare I say that's my favorite pie. And I'm looking forward to having that again. A chocolate pecan pie cheesecake, please.
As far as pies go, I think my favorite is probably either banana cream or Bavarian. I love both of those. As far as like more traditional fare, I do love pumpkin pie, and I will eat pecan, but I'll eat anything. But yeah, I love all kinds of pies. I think Bavarian probably takes the cake though.
I'm less high on different fruit pies. Like I'll do apple pie. Like I like warm apple pie served with ice cream as well. But like I'm not touching like a cherry pie or pie. Stuff like that. It's just not my style.
No, if I'm walking by the pie section, chances are a tres leches is coming home with me or a cheesecake. Probably not a pie at all.
Same.
And if it is a pie, it's gonna have some chocolate or some nuts, I think. I'm not gonna pick up a fruit pie.
I love fruit pies.
Not to smash on like a blackberry cobbler or a peach cobbler. I like those things.
Ooh, cobblers.
But it just wouldn't be the thing I snagged up out of the area.
I'm with you. I was answering Jahan's question as he asked it, but if we're getting into the nitty gritty of, Well, actually, I probably would not have pie, and I'd have X, Y, or Z. There's definitely a lot of other desserts I would choose above pie.
Fuck
Yeah,
it. I want cookie cake.
if you're walking by the bakery section, what are you picking up? Because that's where the pie's at. So I'm not asking you to do something crazy and think of some wacky dessert that you like. If you're walking by the bakery this Thanksgiving, what are you picking up?
Honestly, potentially pie. I do like pie.
I'm
My
probably picking up a tres leches from
I might
HEB.
like pie more than cake, actually.
I will say, so if I'm going to HEB and I want a dessert, I will pick up a slice of their tres leches because I think it's delicious and I have it fairly often. But like my father is big on desserts, and when it comes to the holidays, like Thanksgiving, he likes the traditional desserts with associated with that holiday. So he will always get like a pecan pie or make a pumpkin pie or do all that just because he associates that with the holidays. That's really the only time of year I have it. So from that standpoint, like I maybe would pick up a pecan pie or something like if I'm going to a Thanksgiving gathering,
Yeah.
just because I feel like that fits that occasion. But if it's just me, that's not the dessert I'm going for. I'm probably going for ice cream or going for like a tres leches.
I feel like my dad also loves traditional stuff, and I think it might be because he's not from this country. So like he goes like hard all in. He loves the holidays. He wants to watch the parade. He's also an ice cream addict, so there's always that going on. He loves ice cream. But yeah, we always have pie every single time. Usually someone will buy like a frozen chocolate pie of some kind.
Nothing wrong with a Marie Callender's pie thawing out on the counter. Those things are
I think that's
tasty as
exactly
hell,
what
bro.
it is. Yeah.
Also love cheesecake, as you mentioned. Love cheesecake, and I love cookie cake. Usually every year on my birthday, my wife makes
Man after my own
a
heart.
homemade chocolate chip cookie cake
You know,
with some ice cream on it.
I actually don't fucks with the cookie cake, and I don't know why. I do. I'm with you on the cheesecake, man. I could eat, sleep, and breathe cheesecake until I died, which would only take a few hours.
One of my first Valentine's days with Jenny, she made me a heart-shaped cookie cake because I love cookie cake.
Mm-hmm.
She also filled up one of those chocolate boxes with sushi
Mm.
because she's a dynamite lady. But yeah, cookie cake might be one of my favorite cake ever since that store opened in Katy Mills. Like when I was little, because we'd always go there to see a movie on Christmas Eve because that's my birthday.
And right when you exit the AMC in Katy
That's
Mills,
right
there's
there.
the Great American Cookie right there as you're
Aw.
coming out.
And so it just became like a go-to for me. I love it.
I used to come out and take a right and go to that Starbucks instead.
You had to go left when it was back then because that's also where Games Workshop was.
Yes, that's true. I would actually go into the Starbucks around the FYE, through the entire FYE, come out, hook a left, and pop into the Games Workshop. Completely avoiding the American cookie altogether.
There was a phase in mine and Gary's childhood where we thought Games Workshop was awesome and we loved all the Warhammer stuff, and we would go hang out at Games Workshop and look at all the stuff, but we were kids and had zero disposable income, and Warhammer stuff was super expensive.
Yes.
So we would just totally lurk around the store and be there for way too long looking at stuff and not ever end up buying anything.
When I was doing Warhammer and like when I was like 12 or whatever, well, first off, me and my friend Kayvon, we both got the starter box, the same starter box for Christmas, and then we switched because it came with two armies, and we switched half of them with each other, so we each only had one army, but we had twice as much. And then at that time, I was also sometimes working part-time as a busboy, so I had disposable income.
Very nice.
I was also a very cute kid, so people would just give me money.
How did we get from pies to talking about hanging out at Games Workshop? How do we do this? It's genuinely impressive.
Anyways,
Good conversation.
Whatever desserts you guys are looking forward to in the upcoming Thanksgiving holidays, just hashtag us your favorite types of Thanksgiving pies or desserts.
I think someone likes something called sex in a pan. Have you guys ever had sex in a pan? chocolate pudding, Cool Whip, pecans, and a delicious crust. Sounds good. Everybody has a tradition. Yeah, we'd love to hear about it. Hit us up on Twitter. I'd love to hear about weird desserts or interesting family traditions. Yeah, I'm at RockFact on Twitter.
Shout out to my man Dirt Dessert. I do love some fucking dirt dessert.
Dirt dessert. It took me a second, but yeah, Dirt Dessert's great.
It rules with you gotta have the gummy worms going in and out of it too. Love some dirt dessert.
It might have been a gateway for me as a kid into actually eating dirt, though. So, because I was totally that kid. Believe it or not. At least pretends to be surprised. I would appreciate it.
So I'm looking at our Google Doc for today's episode.
Yeah.
Jahan, under discussions, has holiday gifts.
Mm-hmm.
Jahan, what does that mean?
Whatever you want it to mean. So yeah, the holiday season's coming up. People are pushing. Black Friday seems to start in October now, so that's crazy. And the deals
just blow my mind how they start announcing.
It's
like,
going to start in July soon.
Leading up to it, and then on Black Friday we have this, and then we have this the weeks after. It's nuts. Black Friday has become a whole month.
Well, I mean, they've wired our entire culture into spending, and like they found how to trick us into doing it for longer periods. And it's genius, really, but it's also, I mean, kind of horrific when you think it's almost dystopian. But I'm going to talk about gifts today anyways. So.
The biggest problem with that Black Friday type of thing is whenever they start changing out the hardware for cheaper hardware and just doing holiday markdowns just as a price gouge that are built into the price, that's whenever those things start to become really predatory.
Yes.
As long as there are good deals are fine. But
FYI, a lot of those TVs that you buy for like $100, they have shitty electronics in them. Deliberately shoddy workmanship. It's not, you get what you pay for anyways. But hey, you know what? Sometimes those TVs are fine and they'll service
just
you.
Watch out for Black Friday deals.
Watch out for them. They can be shitty. Absolutely.
And especially like you were saying, it's almost dystopian. They figured out how to keep us spending. Yeah, it's year round. Watch out. Watch your wallet. Make sure you're getting a good price. Just because it's cheap doesn't mean it's good. Don't get shit quality stuff. We love you. Fresh out the box.
Fresh out the box. So the first thing, a game that I would love to find stuffing my stocking this holiday season, Metroid Dread. I would let Samus stuff my stocking all holiday season. But yeah, Metroid Dread actually looks really fun. I hear that it's incredibly difficult, but they seem to have really taken that classic Metroidvania style, which Metroid made famous with Castlevania, obviously, but and changed it by having you being constantly hunted by like a roaming boss. And I believe once you beat the first one, there's another one. But there's also stationary bosses, and it just looks like a very fresh take on a classic formula. And it looks like something I would enjoy. And I might also buy it for my cousin for his birthday coming up here soon.
Wow, spoiler alert, your cousin listens to the podcast, and now he knows what he's going to get.
My cousin's not listening to the podcast. He's too young. I don't know, maybe he does. That'd be really funny, though. He's maybe that's where he learned how to swear.
Our podcast does come with the explicit banner listed with it on whatever podcast service you use, because there is typically cursing. So
they have foul language.
If you are not of a mature age to listen to that language and not go out about your life and replicate it, then you should listen. But if you're under that age, if you're not mature enough to handle, you should not be listening. Actually, listen.
Don't repeat it.
Yeah, press play and let it play and give us the listen. But you don't have to actually
do listen. It. Do listen. Don't repeat.
I heard my cousin swear for the first time ever the other day. I think he gave me a noogie or something, and so I gave him a titty twister, and he goes, fucking shit, and I'm like, and I just stared at him. I was like, what is that?
Put it back in, you tender sweetheart.
Yeah.
The problem there isn't that he cursed. The problem is is that you were giving titty twisters to begin with. What year is it now, John?
You don't buy titty twisters?
Why are you rubbing young boys' nipples anyways?
Hey,
Oh
whoa.
boy. Oh boy.
You gotta give a good purple nurple, man. The classic hazing of our
So
youth.
so you're talking about Metroid Dread, and so has this become? What are the types of things you ask for the holidays, or what are the types of things you would if somebody gifted them to you during this holiday season? Which way are you going?
I would like it as a gift.
No, but I'm saying like for us, like from me and Gary's perspective, are you looking for what are the specific things we want, or what do we typically kind of ask for?
Yeah, so like the discussion was going to be either like stuff you think is a good thing that people should buy or stuff you would like to receive. Either way,
Okay.
honestly.
Okay, that's fair.
And the
Yeah.
next thing, I'm sticking with a Switch theme, Nintendo theme for a little bit, but I'm excited. Gary's not, but I'm excited for Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Pokemon Shining Pearl. I enjoy the remasters of Pokemon games. I don't care. And this is the first like true like Pokemon game on the Switch. And I'm very excited for that. It's top down. The graphics look better. It still has that like chibi cutesy look on the world map. And Diamond and Pearl were some of my favorites. I don't know how you guys feel. Well, I know how Gary feels about it. How do you feel?
You know exactly how I feel about it.
Gary hates remasters.
I hate remasters, and every fucking Pokemon game is the same anyways. Just pick up Sword and Shield. It's not like the Pokemon games are different from any other fucking Pokemon game.
I was pretty disappointed with Sword and Shield, not gonna lie.
I'm just waiting for Arceus or whatever. Until then,
Arceus looks like it's gonna be cool, but stuff has come out recently that I was like, man, it's not as good. I thought it was gonna be open world, but apparently it's gonna be more like where you have like a hub city and you're going out on missions like in Monster Hunter kind of thing. I don't know what that means yet necessarily, but I was kind of like a little like, you know.
That comes out in January, right? So that'll be out after the holidays.
Yeah, that'll be out after the holidays, I believe. That's why I didn't bring it up.
I have big feet, and in my big stocking, I would like to find an Xbox Series X.
Good luck finding one, but yes, me too. I would, if anyone out there wants to buy me an Xbox Series X for Christmas, I will be a happy boy.
You'll allow it, huh?
I'll allow it. There was another thing.
I did have a friend of mine, you know Nick, Nick, Chadley, old Chatterson. He said he was going to keep his eyes out if he saw a Series X, he might pick one up. So there's a chance that he sees one someday, and I'll pay him back.
So, it's funny you say that. I went to Best Buy this past week, as I normally do on Tuesdays, to go check out new Blu-ray releases. And as I was walking into Best Buy, I saw somebody walking out with a PS5, a brand new PS5, the digital version, so the discless version in hand. And I have a PS5. I'm fortunate enough I was able to snag one. So I don't need one myself, but when I saw this guy walking out with one, immediately I was like, "Ooh, okay." And so I went and asked the one of the workers. I said, "Hey, I just saw a guy leaving with a PS5." I was like, "Do y'all have?" And he was like, "Hey, you ordered the worker that I spoke to definitely seemed like he had probably been asked about this by other people already, but he gave me just kind of like yeah, he ordered it online line." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, yeah, I get that," is what I said. I was like, "But I just happened to see it." I'm like, "I have one. I don't need it, but I have many friends that would like one. Do you have them?" And they explained that, and I've heard of this. I think at GameStop they have something similar, but Best Buy right now has an annual plan that I think costs like $200 or something for an annual membership. Jeez. That it gets you basically their extended warranties on all their products and gets you all this stuff as part of that membership. But one of the perks of the membership is you get first access to PS5s or Xbox Series X's when they have them in stock.
Is that how all the scalpers did it?
I guess they're avoiding that now because the scalpers got them all first, so now they're. But it's just like, to me that was so gross. Like,
it is gross.
So You want me to give y'all $200 and subscribe to this membership that I don't need? Just a perk of that is to have first dibs at a console when they come. Like,
That's
nah,
gross.
but yeah, it's just unfortunate. Like, if they had one in stock and I happened to be there, I would have bought one because I for sure have friends that would have wanted it and would have taken it.
I am annoyed with the way our friend Robert got his. Because me and Gary, we were like up. We were like clicking the button, refresh.
Is it a Series X or a
Series
PS5?
X.
Okay.
Series X. We're staying up late. We're trying to get one. We're like, come on, do the thing. Robert happened to go to a Target when it opened because he needed to, like for something. Walking around, looked over. It's like, oh, that's out now. It was like, hey, I want one. And they said, okay. And they had like plenty, and he left with one. Just boom. He just got one. And I was like, you fucker. But yeah, I would like a Series X, please.
That's it. That'll be a tough one again this year, which is crazy because it was the hot gift last year when it came out around this. We're approaching the year anniversary of the Series X and PS5 coming out, and I think we all would have thought they would be more readily available at this point. And here we are a year later, and they're still just.
I think it's safe to say we all certainly thought that they would be around by like summer, right? Maybe
what the hell?
Into stores.
How? People want to buy them. Give them to us.
I would also like to say that it hasn't been a particularly great year for the Series X. There's not a lot over there that is only for the Series X right now that is making everybody want to take that dive. They're adding titles, right? Of course, obviously, it'll get bigger and better. But missing out on this first year wasn't detrimental, I don't think, to Xbox owners.
No, definitely not.
And on the flip side too, I'd argue the same thing for PS5 owners. The exclusive. So I think most of the games, some were deceiving. Like the Spider-Man Miles Morales Spider-Man game, like that was for PS4 also. There were a lot of their games that were, I think one of the few ones that was for PS5 only was the Demon Souls remake. So it's most of the games that came out on PS5, a lot of them were for PS4 also. So it's, I get it. I definitely get it. I'm sitting here and I own both a Series X and a PS5. So go figure. But I think there's a lot of people that have just been foaming at the mouth trying to get one of these two new consoles, and it's like you're not missing anything. Maybe faster load times on games. That's really it.
It's a lot faster though, because we play with a few people that have them, and they're in doing stuff long before we get a chance. And also storage space is a big thing. But you're not wrong. It's not necessary. There's nothing exclusive so much that you can't live without it. But yeah, someone brought up, there's just a straight up video card shortage, like that's a thing. There's like a silicone deficit, and like you can't get computer parts. People were buying whole pre-made PCs just to get video cards out of them to make like Bitcoin farms and stuff. And so a lot of it's cryptocurrency related, but I don't know, man. It's just crazy. It's getting nuts. As far as Christmas gifts go, there's another thing. I don't know how you feel about Lego. I love Legos. I haven't gotten a set in a long time, but there's a really cool one from Nintendo that just dropped. It is the Super Mario N64 question mark block set. It is $170. It's a pretty big set, and it opens up with like different levels from Mario 64. And it has interactivity with those the electronic Mario Legos, so that's pretty cool. But it looks dope. I don't know. It tickles my my inner child. I don't know.
I know the set you're speaking of, and to use your own language, I would say that set is hot fire.
Hot fire.
It looks, I know the set. It looks great. I'm totally team Lego. I wish that I could buy more, but I just don't have the space to store them once they're together. And it's just a pretty penny for Lego sets. I love them. I loved them as a kid. I had so many. And as an adult, I just always have trouble biting the bullet. I wanted to get at one point that big Daily Bugle Spider-Man set. I don't
Nice.
know if you ever saw that one.
I
It's
feel like I have.
huge. I want to say it was like $300 or something like that. It had an insane amount of pieces, and it was like almost 2 or 3 feet tall. It looked incredible, and I was real close to getting that one, but I didn't.
And you say
But
you
man,
don't have a place to store it, but there's a big wall right behind you where it just looks like it would go great above that bed.
yeah, yeah. I think the last Lego set I bought the Millennium Falcon set that came
It's
out
a good one.
around when The Force Awakens came out. It was that version of it, not one of the crazy high dollar million pieces ones, but like the more traditional Millennium Falcon set that came out a few years ago.
Yeah. No, this one's a great one for like a big kid, as in an adult that's still a kid, or an older kid. I think. Also, if you want like Legos that are more grown up related, they have the new series. I don't know if it's called like Icons or something, where it's like a picture that you make with Legos. They have like the Beatles, Iron Man, stuff like that, and they also have the Bust series, which are like just heads that you can make that are really cool, and they're more grown up for the more mature Legoer.
Well, I like the ones like the Mario one that you mentioned that it's the question mark block, but it does other things too. But
Yeah.
otherwise, when it just looks like a question mark block, like that can be used as a decorative piece in a room compared to some other sets.
That's true. Yeah, and they also like the NES one is really cool, where like it's like almost a functioning Nintendo system, and like you can see Mario run across your screen on your TV that you build. That's a cool one too. But yeah, no, Lego's a great gift. That's another great gift idea.
So I love Lego and I like Mario, but these Lego Mario sets are really niche. Like it's special LED light up Marios and special Lego pieces that sort of fit these Mario sets. I think they're gonna age well and they're gonna be expensive in the future if you take care of them because Nintendo and Lego branded, right? They're not my favorite Lego personally. I like classic Lego type of sets.
Fair. No, absolutely. I used to love the play sets specifically.
And like the Millennium Falcon, right? It's made out of classic Lego pieces. That's dope as hell. But these new ones they're made out of special things. They're not just Lego pieces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, talking about wish lists, typically this is gonna really surprise you guys. The type of stuff I like to ask for these days are like anything movie related. I love books about films and about filmmakers, about filmmaking, about anything like that. So I typically ask for those kinds of things. Like, it just surprised me, like I'm trying to think of some that I recently have got. Like last year I got this one about just the year 1999 in movies, and so it talked about how great of a movie year 1999 was because there were movies like I think Fight Club and The Matrix and all kinds of things that came out that year. So like things like that, I love those, or I love behind the scenes coffee table style books that they make for films. Like, for example, Star Wars ones are always really good. They came out with one for The Mandalorian that I'd really like. It's like a coffee table book with just all the concept art and storyboards and written up descriptions of how they came up with concepts for the show. I love those kinds of books because they look pretty. You can put them out for display as a decorative piece, but they're also super nerdy as far as the content. So I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah. No, yeah, I'm pretty easy to shop for. I want video games. I want board games. I want tabletop RPGs. I actually have one of those art books you're talking about. That's D&D, The Art of Dungeons and Dragons. I got a really good deal on it on a penny a page sale at Books A Million. So I paid like I don't know, like $10 or something for like a $200 book. But Yeah, I don't know. As far as board games go, like some of the ones, so these are ones I suggest buying for other people. I have these, so don't buy
Yeah, I
them
was
for
gonna
me.
ask you about this. Like, if you're gonna ask for a board game for the holidays, or you know, there's maybe something you're wanting to play with friends, whatever. Jahan, as the master, what do you recommend?
Yeah, so a newer one that's absolutely replayable that we keep bringing to the table over and over again that I love, Wingspan. It's a beautiful game. It's what's called an engine building game where you're setting up this machine of cards and rules to like make you do things better, faster, stronger. And you're collecting birds and putting them in environments and laying eggs. It's a very beautiful game. It sounds kind of boring on paper, honestly, but it's actually really fun. And we even have a nice bird themed playlist on Spotify for when we play this game, and it's so dumb, but it's a lot of fun. That's one game that I would recommend. Most people would recommend that game. The most played game at my table right now, I think, is the Villainous series. There are the Disney Villainous games, and then there's also the Marvel Villainous. I have all the Marvel stuff. I have two of the Disney things. And we keep playing them. We'll play it, and we also play it multiple times in a row sometimes. Like, it's just a lot of fun. You take the role of a villain, either from Marvel or Disney. They don't mesh. You can't use them together. But you can use all the Disney together. You know, the base set has classics like Jafar, Captain Hook, Maleficent, Ursula, and then they have expansions with like Scar and like obscure characters like Ratigan and the Horned King from the Black Cauldron. And then the Marvel one is incredible. The latest expansion has Loki, Madam Mask, and MODOK in it. All three of them out of the park, fun to play. Just so good. And so if you have a board gamer in your life, or even if it's just someone that might like it, it is a good like entry level thing that has a lot of expansions that you can build on and start collecting.
I think that Drew would actually like one of those games, either of those games.
I do too.
Either, I think that's right up his alley.
I think
Villainous
Marvel,
stuff sounds like something that I would really like.
it's very fun, and
Every character plays different. Also,
Yes.
it's asymmetrical play, and so each time you pick somebody up, you have a different set of things you're trying to do to come out ahead.
yeah.
And you're all sort of killing or defeating heroes together on a general play field, but you're also maneuvering yourself to outplay others.
Yes. Yeah, and the Marvel one, there heroes can interact on different boards in different ways because there's like a stack of shared fate deck in the Disney one. Everyone has their own individual one, so people will bring to bear the heroes that verse your villain against you. So like if you're playing Jafar, I can use a fate action to try and find Aladdin in your deck and like play him against you and that kind of stuff. So it's a very fun game. It's very highly rated on Board Game Geek too. This isn't just like one of those themey games that suck. This is a fucking good game. I can't praise it enough. I love it. We play it the most, I think, of all the games. And it's not even that expensive. I think the base game costs $40, and you can buy the expansions for about $25 to $30, and they have 3 characters each, and they can be played by themselves. You don't have to own the base game. So that's a big selling point there, I think. Other games. Let's see. Gary likes this one. Azul is a very good entry level, not too complex game. It has great components. It has a nice, like the tiles are nice. It's a tile laying game. You take turns drafting tiles and putting them on a wall essentially. And it's point based. Doing different combos at different times generates more points. Also a cheap one. You can find it at Target. You can find it at most like Barnes and Nobles. Anywhere really where board games are, this game will be there.
And so Azul's a really kind of weird game too, because it's another game that you would walk right by, that you would look at it and be like, I don't know. Like I read it and I don't know. And you just keep moving. But when you play it, there is something so fucking easy and fun about it. You're basically just matching patterns and shapes and colors. And I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but that's the game. You're matching pattern, shapes, and colors against everybody else in almost a Yahtzee-esque mosaic type of way. And it's easily accessible and fun for anybody of basically 12 and up. And definitely you can play with an older crowd too, where I think something like Villainous might be a bit like, you're trying to convince your parents or grandparents to play it would be hard.
Azul, you could, yeah.
Azul, absolutely. Anyone would play this game.
That's actually a good segue into one of the other games I wanted to talk about. Because I have played this with my parents. And my mom loves it. My dad doesn't. He's not one for board games. But yeah, so Codenames is a very fun party game where there's a board of words, right? And then like two people would be the clue givers. They can see which words belong to who. And then the other people on their team will try to guess based on their clues, and you can give one-word clues. And then you give a number of how many words it pertains to. So you could be like Spider 4, right? And it could be like hairy, insect, even though they're not insects. Webs, you could be trying to do that kind of thing. And it's whoever gets the most, whoever finishes all of their words first wins. But there's also an assassin word. One of the words, if you pick it, your team flat out loses. So like, it's a minefield, and it's very fun. Also a cheap one, and you can also find it at most stores. And they have a lot of different versions, including like a Marvel version, a Disney version, picture versions that you could play with your kids. It's a great family party game.
If you haven't played Codenames before, would you recommend getting the original version, or if you pick up one of the themed versions and that's the first time you play it, is that an acceptable way to play it?
That is a completely acceptable way to play it. I don't even know if the first time I played it, I think the first time I played it was Disney. But they have so many different versions, and I don't think it'll dampen it at all. The base game just has like generic words like cup and avalanche and Rome. And then, other ones will have Captain Marvel and, Captain America. You can say Captain 2 and probably nail that one pretty easy, Lots of fun. I have Codenames Marvel, and Codenames Duet, which is like a 2-player version.
Family's always looking for new games to play around the holidays. Codenames is not one that we've played. So
Codenames I would absolutely recommend picking up to play with your family. And while we're talking about Wavelength, this wasn't on my list, and I'm just going to quickly reference it, but Wavelength also looks fun. I don't know much about it. I don't know how to play it necessarily, but I've seen people do videos on it, and it looks like a lot of fun. That's another party game. But yeah, the last game on my list of holiday giftery, I'm only doing ones that I've played, so that I can actually be like, hey, I think you should get this. Horrified is probably the most fun co-op game I've played. I actually enjoy playing. I played it recently for Halloween. And what it is you're, characters in a monster movie, like Universal monsters, and you have to defeat like the likes of Dracula, the creature from the Black Lagoon, Frankenstein and his bride, Frankenstein's monster, whatever, the Wolfman and the Invisible Man. And it's always at least 2 of them. And you have to go around, you defeat each one in a different way. Like, you have to cure the werewolf. You have to teach Frankenstein's monster and the bride how to love. And, I don't know, it's crazy. But you can do 2. You can fight against all of them at once, which would be really hard. Also, The Mummy. Yeah, there's honorable mention there. That one's really fun. And they just came out with a new one that it's called American Monsters. And it's cryptids from around the United States. I've talked about that one on the show before. So if you already have Horrified, that's a good suggestion. But if someone doesn't have it, this is a great co-op experience. So that list kind of encompasses most modes of play, I feel. That's it for my end of the giftery, as far as what I would give. I'm not sure what I would want to receive board game wise this year. I really do want that American Monsters game. I don't have it, but maybe that's one.
With as fun as Horrified is, right? That's what it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the cryptids version should be a lot of fun. Mothman and Bigfoot and Wendigos.
Yeah, Mothman, Bigfoot, the Banshee of the Badlands, Chupacabra, the Jersey Devil, and I think maybe a Wendigo is in there as well. And like it takes place all over an American map, so that's interesting. Looks like fun. I like cryptids, so. And then I don't know. There's a lot of games that I would like to receive. There's a Gargoyles game that I really want. There is a game called Scythe. That's a pretty big game that I want.
I still think we're going to see Gargoyles make a really big reboot or something.
Jordan Peele has been talking about it for a long time now.
I think we're going to get something very good Gargoyles here in the next 10 years or so.
Jordan Peele, if you somehow hear this, I would love to be a part of your writing team for the Gargoyles movie. I'm a huge fan. I know all about the lore. Come at me, bro. I want it. I want it so bad.
Drew, you been watching anything good? You been seeing anything good? You been doing anything good?
So for transparency sake, with this episode, so this episode will be dropping, the audio will be dropping on November 8th, I believe. And at the time of this recording, I will be out of town that weekend. And so, Gary, I believe you're going on vacation here soon.
Me?
Yes.
Right.
So actually, if we had recorded this on Saturday the 6th, which is what we seem like we pretend like we do, but we're not doing this time. This time, so I'll actually be out of town for an entire week in New Mexico, in Taos. We're doing a bunch of nature walks and hikes, and we're going to go look at a bunch of like old cultural places like the Taos Pueblos, and we're going to stay a night in Palo Duro Canyon on the way up. We've got an Airbnb with a mountain view and a hot tub, and it's pet friendly. And it's got heated floors. So I am going to be having an awesome trip and not consuming a whole lot of media, but I'll be taking a lot of pictures and stuff. And maybe during our next recording, I can send some of those to Jahan and talk about something other than just the digital media we consume. I can talk about some real human life I went out and consumed. But
that'll be really nice.
Yeah, right. I think that could be a nice little change of pace just in time for Thanksgiving. I'll be super thankful for the vacation. It's the first vacation we've had in 3 or 4 years. Since we're road tripping, it's affordable and we get to bring the pets, right? So pretty much the best case scenario. The only digital media that I really wanted to talk about was Battlefield. Battlefield is coming out. It's coming out November 19th. And so we'll get back, and then it'll be coming out in like a week, 2 weeks. Yeah. I'll be hungry for it. All I'll have is Forza Horizon 5. Battlefield will be November 19th, and then Halo Infinite, I think, will be December 8th. So there are games coming for me. I'm probably going to buy Battlefield myself because I don't want to wait, and Halo is going to be free for Game Pass people day one. So my gift guide is small. My things I'm excited for are pretty small, and what I'm consuming is pretty small. But I am excited for a real life vacation and adventure.
Incredible, and that's why I bring it up, because to give the listeners a little peek behind the curtain of our kind of our process, we do typically record 2 episodes at a time every other week. So we'll record the episode for this week and the episode for next week, and then we'll record again in 2 weeks. But recently we've had some more timely topics. So we actually were recording weekly for the past few weeks because Dune would have normally been on an off week for us, and we wanted to have a timely discussion about Dune. And so things like that. And so actually with us being out of town, this episode, which I'm going to title as Jahan's Holiday Gift Guide, or our Holiday Gift Guide, will be coming out on a weekend that some of us will be traveling. And so, because that being said, I just want to acknowledge that again, if you're listening to this on the day that it dropped, I believe November 8th, this is a big movie weekend for us to miss because Marvel's Eternals will be out in theaters, as well as one that I've talked about that probably nobody else cares about or our audience doesn't care about as much, but Spencer, which is the Kristen Stewart movie where she stars as Princess Diana, that'll be out in theaters, which I'm all about.
Gary
but
looks like you
also-
just punched him right in the nuts.
And Finch will be live on Apple TV Plus, which is the Tom Hanks movie where it's like a post-apocalyptic movie where he's
That
got a
looks
robot
dope.
friend, and that'll be out on Apple
That
TV
looks
Plus. So I'm actually our off week is falling on kind of a busy movie weekend. So I want to address, why is Drew not talking about Eternals or why are we
Yeah.
not talking about this? That's why. So on the bright side, the following week when we record, there should be lots of good stuff because there's other upcoming things. Like, I don't know if y'all have heard, I believe it's November 12th has been dubbed or officially declared Disney Plus Day, which is the anniversary of the date. It'll be the 2-year anniversary of the date Disney Plus launched.
Do you know how long it took black people to get a holiday?
Well, to be fair, I think this is Disney self-declaring November 12th as Disney Plus Day.
That is different, but that's a good point.
the anniversary of when Disney Plus launched,
boy.
and so there's going to be a bunch of content dropping on Disney Plus that day. For example, Shang-Chi will be on Disney Plus that day officially, so we can actually talk about Shang-Chi more at length because y'all will both have seen it. And there's a bunch of other, shorts and specials and things that I believe are coming to Disney Plus that day. I don't have a list in front of me, but Shang-Chi I know will be one of the big ones. Anyway, so we'll have a lot to talk about in the coming weeks is my point. So, for me, for what you were saying about things I've been watching, to circle back, it's the most watched thing on Netflix. Nice. I have been taking my sweet time. But I finally watched only the first episode of Squid Game. Finally said, let's see what this is all about. I watched it in the original Korean language with English subtitles, because I've heard that's the best way to watch.
Yeah, the acting
from some. And it was good. So let me start by saying it was good. It is very difficult when a show like this kind of becomes a mainstream cultural phenomenon that everybody's watching and it just becomes assumed that you've seen it and that everybody has seen it. When you do finally say, all right, I'm going to give this thing a try, and you're coming to it a few weeks late as I am, there's a little bit of it that maybe it's hard to live up to the hype. So I was kind of, not to be unfair to the show, but I'm like watching it thinking like, is there going to be a big wow moment? And I did think it was really solid. And I'm sure that probably for people who didn't know what they were getting into and just said, well, this is number one on Netflix, let me tune in. And they saw that first episode and they finally see the red light, green light game take place. It probably was shocking. But because of all the memes that have surfaced as a result of the show and all the discussions, I kind of feel like I knew what to expect going into it to a degree. Even just people comparing it. Oh, it's Hunger Games meets Battle Royale. Oh, that, so that kind of makes you know what to expect. And so I watched it and I thought, oh, okay. That's kind of what I thought it would be. Not to bring the show down, because it's good. The acting was good. The production value is really good. I love the design of the game itself once they're in it, the way that it looks. And the big doll-like character that's had turns and stuff during the first game. Like, I thought all of that was incredible.
It's also iconic.
Yeah, the first time it shows them in the room where all the beds are, when the main character wakes up and you just see these stacks of like bunk beds essentially. Like, I thought the visuals of all that once it gets into it is incredible. So I'll definitely keep watching it. I'm gonna finish it, but I guess it's just when these kind of flash in the pan shows come so fast, and it's like everybody watched it in a weekend and you wait a couple weeks to get into it, it's definitely hard to watch it with the level of hype
Gotcha.
that people have set it up to be. I wanted to just talk about that. So I'm not saying it's bad. Quite the opposite. It is very good. But I'm like, okay.
Yeah. No, I can be like that too. I'll hear something get hyped up. Sometimes I just won't watch something because I'm like, shut up. Like,
So, like, no joke, the first episode of that show is probably the best episode of that show.
potentially.
John, do you agree?
So I mean, it's hard. That episode is so good. It sets a tone for the whole thing. I actually think the last episode's really good. I think that there's some moments throughout the show that are very good, and some of them are hard, and some of them are touching, and some of them make you cry. And it's a good show all the way around. I don't know if it might be the best episode, but it's such a good episode. Like, that's nothing wrong with that, you know. And I like a lot of the stuff in the show I've been hearing is really cool. Like that doll apparently is something from like Korean school posters, like, you know, like those "don't run in the hall," you know, kind of stuff. Like, and so that's funny. So it's like a whole different thing in the culture. It's just cool.
Actually, I find that to be really cool.
I like the amount of their culture that permeates. Like, I love that it really shows a lot of Korean culture. On top of everything else, it's such a good show.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I really did enjoy it. I guess I just wanted to bring to light the idea of just hype versus reality when you finally do tune in. But not to diminish it, because I did think it was very good. Another thing that I watched, it's funny, this has been on my watch list for a long time. And Jahan, you watched this weeks ago and mentioned it on the pod. And I finally watched it because this past week it actually was a featured rental on Apple TV. It was a 99-cent rental for Werewolves Within. So movie's Werewolves Within. So I finally rented it and decided to give it a watch. Gary, actually, if you ever feel like watching this movie, I think as of right now, there's still like 40 hours left to watch it or something before it disappears from my iTunes.
I think I'll be on the road for most of those 40 hours.
Fair enough. But anyway, I decided to give this a watch. I'd been wanting to... I'd heard some interesting things about it. Jahan, refresh my memory. What did you think about Werewolves Within?
I have mixed feelings. It is, as far as werewolf movies go, not the best. It is passable, for sure. I do like the characters are interesting. I do like them. Guillermo from What We Do in the Shadows is in it, and he's hilarious again, as always. The protagonist is great. Love a black lead, so good. And he's funny. He's a funny guy. And then obviously, who could forget I forget, what is she, Verizon? The Verizon girl.
Thanks, so.
Super, she's actually a pretty good actress, and she's also very good looking. It is not diminished in this show, even though she's dressed up like a mail courier. If anything, it makes it better. But, yeah, it's funny. It's actually, apparently this is a board game property.
Well, I think it's based off a video game. So actually, when I watched it, the Ubisoft logo comes up.
Yeah, Ubisoft comes up because Ubisoft makes a lot of board game adaptations. And I think this is one of them, funny enough. Because they have all the like Hasbro licenses as well. I saw the Ubisoft pop up. I was like, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, and it's basically the video game or board game. What's the right term, board game guru? Is it like, isn't there a game called Mafia that's super popular?
So this is called a hidden role game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Mafia is one of the popular ones, right?
There's Mafia, there's Werewolf, there is like Vampire. There's a whole series in the Werewolf vein. There's like aliens, super villains, that kind of stuff.
But basically it's like there's a werewolf among us, or there's a something among us, and the one person knows they are but nobody else does, and trying to guess what it is. And that's the premise of the game. So they incorporate, which kind of makes sense for how you make that to a movie. And this is like, I liked this movie, honestly.
I did too.
like the best movie of all time,
No.
by any means, but it's an enjoyable little mystery in this small snowy town of trying to figure out who the vampire is amongst the people, or excuse me, not vampire, who the werewolf is amongst the people.
Interchangeable. It's fine.
Might be picking off people in the town, and you mentioned Sam Richardson, who's in this. He's the lead, and I've seen him in a few things recently because he was in, I think it's called The Tomorrow War, which is Chris Pratt, Amazon Prime movie that I watch. He's in that. But he was in Ted Lasso recently, too, in some of the latter episodes of this most recent season.
Yeah.
And he's the lead in this movie. And this is probably the most likable I've found him to be in anything I've seen him in so far. I liked him as the lead, and I thought he was actually pretty funny. And
I thought he was very
funny,
I
mean, there's not too much to say about this movie, really. I mean, it's kind of what you expect.
It's exactly what you expect. It's aware of what it is. They make it good. They do a lot of the campy camera work, like where they have a character that's supposed to be suspicious pop into frame all of a sudden, and like I love that. It got me every time. But I did like this movie.
It has a couple little jump scare moments, but the movie mostly plays as a comedy. There's not any actual...
It is more... Yeah, it's a campy horror movie that is funny. It's not really... Yeah. It might be intentionally a comedy. You might be right. Yeah.
And it seems like they probably had a limited budget with it, not that takes away from the movie. Like, they do well with what they have. But the thing I'll note is... I don't think it's a spoiler to say that it... at some point in the movie, there's a werewolf reveal. You see the werewolf. And I think the thing that surprised me about it is that I was expecting like a CG-esque, Harry Potter werewolf, something like that. And they do use practical makeup effects for the werewolf that I was not expecting. So I thought that was kind of fun and added to the campiness and the feel of it. But overall I'd say I enjoyed it. It's just a nice small movie, especially at the timing right now around Halloween and stuff.
It's
at the time
it's no ginger snaps, but it's a good movie.
It was a good little watch. And then so that's it. Those are really the only things I've watched here recently. The other thing I'll note, because I've talked the past a few episodes ago about my experience with Far Cry 6 so far. And I finished Far Cry 6. I beat the campaign, so it is officially the first Far Cry game that I've beaten since Far Cry 3.
Nice.
I think I put about 60-something hours into Far Cry 6 when all was said and done. I unlocked every achievement except for 2 of them so far, and one of them really makes me mad because it requires 3 actual weeks in real life to unlock it. Because in Far Cry 6, something that happens is once you've beaten the main story, in order to keep you playing or to give you more things to do after you've beaten the game and taken over all the bases and stuff, is basically a section of the map will get retaken over by these insurgents, and so it gives you something to do. Go back, take those bases back over, whatever.
Kind of cool.
Get the leader to appear, and then you kill that leader. And then the game gives you 5 days to complete that, and then it resets in real time. And there's an achievement for killing 3 of the insurgent leaders, so literally you'd have to play 3 weeks in a row to get it. So I'm annoyed because I came so close to getting every achievement for the game, and I don't know if I'm going to stick with it long enough to get that last one.
Yeah.
But that does not take away from the overall fun I had with the main game. I thought it was very fun.
Did you get an email? Did you hear about that?
Did I get an email?
Yeah, Far Cry 6. So apparently, if you put the game down or whatever for too long, the villain's character, the main villain's character, will email you in real life and taunt you.
Oh, I'll have to see. That sounds fun.
Yeah.
No, I have not received that yet, but it's only been a couple days since I stopped playing, so I'll be interested to see.
Yeah, he calls you up, talk shit. It's like, ha ha ha, you lose. Like, I don't know. It's funny. I heard about it.
In Far Cry 4, the plot is that you're there to spread your mom's ashes to I forget, but you're there to spread your mom's ashes, and the main bad guy arrests you on the bus on your way in and takes you to his compound, and you're there at a table and you can hear like rebels blasting mortars in the area, and he's like, stay right here, I'll take care of this. And he gets up and walks away, and then rebels start talking to you in an earpiece. They're like, get out of there, get up, turn around, go down these stairs. But if you don't, if you just let go of your controller and you put your feet up and you stay at the table like he asked you to, he will kill the rebels, come back, sit down, and take you to where you need to go to spread your mom's ashes, and you win the game.
So it's funny you say that, because Far Cry 6 has a similar Easter egg in it, where initially the main character just wants to get off the island she's on and go to America and go to Miami and live her life. And she kind of gets brought in by this group of guerrillas and more, people trying to free this big island from its oppressors. But at any time during the main campaign, if you just get in a boat or a helicopter or any kind of vehicle and travel off the map, like, you just press select, the map comes up, you can just go over the water on a boat, whatever, off the map. It'll cut to a cutscene with the main character in Miami, sitting on the beach, sipping a drink, living her life, his or her life. I think you can play as a male or female. Living their life and listening to the radio, and the radio show talks about the main group of guerrillas and freedom fighters that you had been recruited to help, that they've all been killed by the main bad guy, and so on and so forth, and your main character is just sipping drinks on the beach in Miami. And
not my problem.
And that cutscene plays, and then credits roll. So you can do that at any point during the game as like a secret ending. So nice. That's funny that they've done that in multiple games now, that basically if you just do what the villain wants, you can end the game that way if you so choose.
Yeah, you don't have to be the hero, right? You can just be a
really
person.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so Drew, we know where Gary's going. Where are you going? What are you doing?
I am going to Kentucky to visit some of my wife's family. So
Okay. Have you been to Kentucky before?
I have. Yeah, we usually try to go once a year to go visit. It's actually we like to go in the fall because the weather's so cool and nice, and it feels like fall there. It's usually beautiful, and my sister-in-law and brother-in-law live on a nice, spacious area of land, and so it really, even though we're just going to family's house, it feels like a vacation when you're out there. Yeah. So we're looking forward to it. So we'll go and visit family, but hopefully just get some downtime. But
that's really dope. Yeah, I'm also going out of town this weekend, the weekend of the release of this. Me, Jenny, and my little brother, the Vaughns, Robert, and all them. A lot of people. We're all going to go camp out at Renfest. So.
Oh yeah, Vicky texted me about that, but I told her I would be out. She always tries to give me a heads up when y'all go, but it always seems like whenever I'm out of town or can't.
She's really good about it. Yeah, no, this one worked out really well for me. So me and Jenny loves camping out there. The first time she ever camped was at a Renfest. I thought she would hate it, but she wound up loving it, and so we do it as often as we can. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm gonna have a lot of fun. So yeah, we're gonna have to take pictures and stuff and talk about our trips next time, maybe.
That's crazy, man. I love camping, and I hate camping at Renfest.
I enjoy I like both.
Heard it gets a little bit a little crazy.
It can, but you can also, so there's different areas. Like there's an entire area for like families that don't want to partake in the craziness. We've sat kind of in the middle most of the time, where people come and go, but like the only people that come towards your camp are people that are sleeping there. And then there's another area where everyone's camped together. We did that once. I remember someone came up to us. It was like, hey, is this the BDS&M boot camp? And we were like, no. And they looked at us, and then they looked at each other, and they looked at us again, and like, you sure? And we were like, yeah, we're sure. Get the fuck out of here. And it was just really funny. Also, some drugged out girl fucking walked through our camp that night, too. And I had to help her find her fiance. And she had no idea where she was. And so it can be wild. There's also naked Jenga, all that good stuff.
And it's loud, and it's weather dependent, and there are only porta potties. There is no running water. It's horrible. It's a horrible camping experience. I can't believe anyone likes it. And if you're in costume, it's just extra shit to bring camping, because camping's already a bitch with what you have to bring. So now you're bringing extra swords, you're bringing extra makeup, you're bringing extra mirrors because you're going to fucking sweat when you're putting this shit on. It's way better to stay at home and drive to Renfest. Not to camp there. Camping. That is horrible. I love camping. Camping at Renfest is something totally different than camping.
That's not wrong. That's not wrong. I just enjoy both.
Like, it's got like a festival feel to it.
It does. It's a lot of fun.
A lot of walking around. It's a very long walk from the campsite to the front gate. If you're going multiple times, especially, walking from your tent all the way in, all the way around and back to your tent can be pretty fucking exhausting.
Yeah, but you could be all bougie and get the go-kart drivers to drive you back and forth.
Or you just drive from your house in the morning and go back by about 3 or 4.
That's an option too. Yeah. But yeah, that's what I'll be doing. I'll try and share some pictures in the upcoming weeks with you guys.
Worth noting, I am planning to so we have the, of course, our individual Twitter feeds. We have our Fresh Out the Box Twitter feed, and I'm going to make one for Fresh Out the Podcast as well. So that's a perfect avenue that if we ever want to share these kinds of photos or things for our audience that are kind of related to the podcast, and we'll be able to put those there. So look out for that in the future. I'm sure we will be promoting it.
Absolutely. And the other thing I had left, do you guys have anything?
No, that's it for me.
That's it for you guys. So the last thing I wanted to touch on, so what's your Thanksgiving going to be looking like here? What are you looking forward to eating the most?
so I was planning on not doing anything with anybody for Thanksgiving because I just don't really vibe with my folks.
Yeah.
Both of my sets of parents are still alive. And I just don't vibe with them great. I don't really know if I want to spend a day with them.
Hey man, you can always come over to my house, man.
So Annie and I are talking about just doing what we did last year, making a bunch of tamales, making a bunch of fried catfish, and maybe some homemade French fries, and just hanging out at the house.
Nothing wrong with that. That sounds beautiful.
Legitimately sounds awesome.
Mm-hmm. And so maybe we'll see if like other friends of the family or other friends of mine, they don't have like a family to go to, or they're just chilling, whatever. Like Justin, I'm not sure if Justin's baby mama is going to take his son for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And so if she does, maybe Justin will stay and eat with us. Maybe he'll go to his mom's. I don't know. So we'll put the feelers out and see if anybody wants to come over and hang out that day.
Yeah. So you're gonna try and do like a Friendsgiving. What food are you looking most forward to?
I'm a fried catfish boy, so I'm thinking there's going to be fried catfish and fried shrimp for reals. And Annie's got to have tamales, and we make the tamales from scratch. We do every single step of the way. We hand roll them and everything. So it should be a tasty, great time over here at the Avenger house.
Save some for me, man.
And I always go for the stuffing. That's my number one thing because it's one of the things that I don't get to have all the time, but I love a good stuffing or dressing, whichever you refer to it as. So yeah, that's my go-to. Oh boy.
This guy said he loved a good stuffing, didn't he?
He did say that. I also enjoy a good stuffing, my friend. But yeah. So I love mashed potatoes. Man, I love the whole shebang. Turkey, mashed potatoes, cranberries, rolls. I love all that
brown
stuff.
Gravy.
Growing up, we didn't really have ham in the house, because my dad's Muslim. But those things kind of relaxed in later years, so we have it now. And so I love ham. I'm a big ham boy. And my aunt and uncle come over too. They're also Muslim, but my little cousin, he's allowed to eat ham anyways, and he goes ham on ham. So I'm excited for ham.
I want to pre-order a honey baked ham from Honey Baked Ham Company. I haven't gotten one since I was a kid, but I'm pretty sure that those things come basically candied, but they cost $70 fucking dollars or something crazy.
That makes sense. Yeah.
But I think I'm gonna treat myself one of these years and get one. I think I remember them being really fucking good.
Yeah, anyone who needs Thanksgiving dinner, Cafe Benedict, my dad's restaurant over off of Highway 6, they do Thanksgiving dinner stuff. If you pre-order, you can get some sort of meal. I'm not sure what it's going to be this year. It's always a little different. But you might be able to get a turkey. But you can definitely get like a bunch of sides of stuff and all that good stuff made with love and care. So
fresh out the Friendsgiving.
We're not sponsored, but it is my family's restaurant. So hey, I love you, Dad. But yeah.
And we're looking for sponsors.
Always looking for sponsors, yeah. But that's what I'm looking most forward to. Yeah, man, I'm excited for the holiday season. I love the holidays. My birthday, Christmas Eve. So I've always enjoyed this time of year a lot.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to as it gets closer to Christmas, because I don't really want to talk about it tonight, but I'm looking forward to what we are going to go see for your birthday. I'm thinking we're probably going to go see Into the Spider-Verse, right?
No, Spider-Man.
Spider-Man No Way Home?
No Way Home. Yeah. There you go.
There's several other movies coming out that time that are also hot fire. I don't remember. But there's a strong possibility we might see Spider-Man.
Let's just say I'm looking forward to your birthday this year.
I am too. And that's a tradition.
Me too. I'm looking forward to your birthday.
Hey, you can come too, Drew, if you want to. It is on Christmas Eve. So, like, a lot of people can't make it. So, usually, just a small group will go. I get to pick where we eat, and I get to pick the movie. That's my birthday. And I love it. I love my birthday. So,
awesome.
If you want to see more of me and Jahan, stop by twitch.tv/Jahanan on every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday from 8 p.m. until 11 p.m. Central. Every other Saturday, we're doing Fresh Out the Podcast. So Twitch is a place to find us. We also have a YouTube, and we're only 20 followers away from being able to change our YouTube URL. Right now, it's just random alphanumerics every time we copy-paste it. But when we get to 100 followers, right now we're at 80. When we get to 100, we can change it to youtube.com/FreshOutTheBox. So please have some people go follow our YouTube so we can not just be KZH94HGK ... every time we try to post some shit. Get some people to come follow our YouTube, Fresh Out the Box. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I've been Jahanan. I'm at RockFact on Twitter. Jahanan1 on TikTok. If you want to come watch me not do a good job and insult a lot of people on accident. So
I'm at Casualty CDG, and you can find me at Casualty CDG.
And I am at Drew Munhausen on Twitter, and I think that is it. Again, I know this episode was probably a little bit more filler than some of the other ones we've had, but it's just because we've been recording so much back to back to back. But when we get back here soon, it sounds like we're going to be jam-packed with content. So while you can catch us on Twitch every other week recording Fresh Out the Podcast, you can catch the audio form every week, and we haven't missed a week yet, and we're approaching nearly 20 episodes coming up here soon, so that's pretty exciting. So, just be on the lookout for more from us.
Have a good day, have a good night, happy holidays, and we love you. Stay fresh.